Chapter 1, SSS Talent Skill Summoning. Tianfeng City, Great Xia Country, 5th High School, Senior Class 8. I wonder what natural skill I'll awaken tonight, so nervous. Blessed be the gods, let me awaken my A-rank talent. Crap. You're also too greedy. There are no more than 1,000 A-grade talents in all of Great Xia. I heard that a senior sister from the last class awakened her S-class talent and was directly guaranteed a place in Qing University's martial arts school. Now, she's already a first-order demon realm powerhouse. The Magic Kingdom strongman. Starting at $1 million a year. And there are all kinds of privileges. I'm envious. Envious of people's millions of dollars a year? Defending our country is our ambition. Pull back, ordinary people like us are making a contribution by not dragging the country down. But to tell you the truth, watching the country pay the M's a huge commission every year makes me mad. It can't be helped, who made M country only have 5th order demon realm powerhouses. To deal with high-level demon cave demons, we can't do it without them. The classroom was abuzz with discussion. Zhang Ze sat alone in the corner, looking at his cell phone with a heavy heart. The lease on my sister's artificial kidney expires this month. Renewal costs $500,000. Mom and Dad's inheritance has been used up, so they had to sell the house, but I'm afraid it's still not enough. Alas, I thought I'd live again and not have to worry about money, but it turns out it's still. That's right, Zhang Ze wasn't from this world. 10 years ago, an accident brought him here from Earth and made him an adopted son of the Zhang family. Zhang family couple treat Zhang Ze as their own, sister Zhang Feng also Zhang Ze as a brother, but the good times don't last long. 5 years ago the Devil's Cave demon attacked Tianfeng City, Zhang family couple was killed, Zhang Feng was seriously injured, kidney damage is serious, because of the special physique, can only rely on the artificial kidney to survive. In order to keep his sister alive, Zhang Ze used all of his parents' inheritance to pay the rent for the artificial kidney. It was impossible to buy it. One artificial kidney cost $5 million. And Zhang Feng needed 2. We can only hope for a talent awakening tonight. Zhang Ze looked at the round moon pattern on the back of his right hand, with a line of pulsating numbers in the center, 05:26:50. This is a countdown. When the time reaches 0, you can enter the magic zone. The Devil's Domain, which appeared out of nowhere 20 years ago, no one knows where it came from, and the accepted story is that it was created by the gods. All people can enter the magic realm at the age of 18 to activate their natural skills. Talent Skill Level Division, D, C, B, A, S, SS, SSS, the higher the level, the more powerful and easier to kill monsters. Alongside the demon realm is the demon cave, which appears randomly around the world, from which powerful demon cave demons run out to wreak havoc on the earth. Human weapons had no effect on them, and later, it was discovered that the magic realm would have an effect on the real world, and that getting stronger in the magic realm would be just as strong in the real world. Thus, the countries of the world began to organize the strongest people in the magic domain to try to fight against the demons in the magic cave, and actually achieved good results. With the increasing attention to the strong in the magic realm, an international organization called the Association of Strong in the Magic Realm was established, and they divided the strong in the magic realm into 5 levels, and as long as they passed the assessment of the association, they could get the level certificate. Generally speaking, as long as one awakens an A-rank talent, they can easily pass the first stage examination. However, to deal with high-level demon cave demons, it would still take a 5th order demon realm powerhouse. Its role is equivalent to that of a nuclear weapon. Therefore, countries with 5th order demon realm powerhouses have more say in the international arena. Currently, M country has the only 5th order magic domain powerhouse and the largest number of magic domain powerhouses in the remaining segments, so the world ranks first and forms a monopoly. Once there is a high-level magic cave demon, countries are unable to cope with it and can only turn to the M country, which charges a sky-high commission, and at the same time attaches all kinds of harsh conditions, so the countries have no choice but to accept it with gritted teeth. In this, the Great Summer Kingdom had suffered the greatest loss, and after learning from the pain, the country wished to cultivate its own demon realm powerhouses for a time. The treatment of the strongest people in the demon region was unprecedentedly generous. Both to serve the country, but also fame and fortune, everyone dreams of becoming a powerful person in the magic realm. As long as I can awaken my A-rank talent, I'll have a chance to become a demon realm powerhouse, and my sister might still be saved. Zhang Ze clenched his fists. When the school bell rings, Zhang Ze runs out of the classroom and cleans up the school martial arts center as fast as he can. He and his sister's living expenses depend on this job. After finishing his work, Zhang Ze looked at the time. There were still 2 hours before he entered the magic realm, and he caught the last subway to go home. According to statistics, there are as many as 3 million 18-year-old students of school age in our country this year, and how many gifted and excellent talents will emerge among them? Let's wait and see. In the subway car, Zhang Ze was watching TV news when he suddenly received a message. "Brother, I'm going to play at my classmate's house tonight. The food is ready for you. Remember to eat well before you go to the magic area. Pay attention to safety. Oh. Sister Zhang Feng." Zhang Ze smiled, but his mood couldn't be lightened. If what I awakened is a below-a-grade talent. Zhang Ze didn't dare to continue thinking about it. Back home, Zhang Ze ate as fast as he could and waited to enter the magic realm. The global time to enter the magic kingdom is synchronized, 8 p.m. sharp. Individual places will vary due to time differences. As soon as the time reached 8 o'clock, the pattern on the back of Zhang Ze's hand emitted a light blue glow. He had already read the guide to the magic realm beforehand and knew that he could now enter the magic realm. Entering magic is as simple as tapping the full moon pattern 3 times in a row, and the same is done when exiting, which is very simple. Zhang Ze tapped 3 times, and his eyes suddenly went black, and after a few seconds, his surroundings gradually brightened up, and he was already on top of a circular altar. The altar was huge, the size of a stadium, with a stone pillar standing around it, and outside was a vast prairie. Many people began to appear around them one after another. They looked around blankly, obviously being magic realm newbies just like Zhang Ze. "Welcome to the magic domain, I am your guide elf." A palm-sized elf flew in front of Zhang Ze. "Please set the name and dress up to be used in the magic domain first." Zhang Ze thought for a moment and said, "Rakshasa." Masked costume. Rakshasa is the screen name Zhang Ze has been using. Masked for protection. This world was not peaceful, and countries would often go after the strongest people in the demon realm in order to grow themselves and suppress other countries. Pulling in, infiltrating, turning, assassinating. Anything and everything? Don't think that you are invincible just because you have become a powerful person in the magic realm, and know that there are people outside of people, and there are heavens outside of heavens. Zhang Ze had once seen a murder case with his own eyes, and although the police had disproved the rumor afterward, Zhang Ze, who had been a man for 2 lifetimes, knew that the person who had been killed was a demon realm powerhouse. Living is the truth until you have the strength to protect yourself. Rakshasa, if you're ready, we're going to do a talent activation. The elf conjured a crystal ball out of thin air. Please place your hand on it and your talent skill will automatically appear. Zhang Ze complied and placed his hand on top of the crystal ball, which immediately emitted a piercing golden light. "I hope it's grade A." Zhang Ze prayed inwardly, his palms covered in sweat. Congratulations on obtaining the SSS grade natural skill. Summoning technique. The elf's cheerful voice rang out. Zhang Ze first stiffened, then became ecstatic. SSS grade talent skill. Talents that only existed with legends that no one in this world had even seen. If you awaken the S-rank talent, you will be guaranteed admission to a prestigious school and have a bright future. What happens when you awaken your SSS talent? It was as if Zhang Ze saw himself standing at the top of the world, with a bright light behind him, looking down on all beings like a god. Finally, we can turn the tables. Zhang Ze immediately checked the contents of this talent skill. Summoning, SSS. Grade, 1. Experience, 0 out of 1000. Consumption, 10 points of vitality. Cooldown, 60 seconds. Effect. A killed target can summon one clone of that target, which is identical to the original, has no time limit, and can be upgraded up to 5 levels. Remarks. A first-level summoning spell that summons 10 clones. A second-level summoning spell that summons 30 clones. A third-level summoning spell that summons 50 clones. A fourth-level summoning spell that summons 100 clones. A fifth-level summoning spell that can summon 500 clones. Crap! Zhang Ze couldn't help but burst out. This summoning spell is so awesome. As long as Zhang Ze killed a monster, he could summon an identical monster out, and if he killed 10, he would summon 10. Letting these monsters help him fight the monsters while he sits back and enjoys himself was simply not too good. If Zhang Ze killed the boss, he could still summon the boss out. The current highest record of humans exploring the Devil's Domain was 38 floors, and each floor was guarded by a boss. If Zhang Ze killed all the bosses, wouldn't he have a team of boss fighters? Ask who dares to compete with him. Zhang Ze's eyes glowed, then he opened his character panel. Name, Rakshasa. No. C247511176. Blood, 100. Vitality, 110. Damage, 1 to 10. Speed, 10. Attributes. Strength, 10, 10 points for normal people. Physical fitness, 10, 10 points for normal people. Spirit, 11, 10 points for normal people. Agility, 10, 10 points for normal people. Assignable attribute points, 0. Skill, Summoning Technique Level 1, SSS. Equipment, none. Comprehensive Evaluation Newbie Rookie. Spirit is 1 point higher than normal, because I'm a traveler? Zhang Ze closed his character panel and rubbed his fists together, wanting to try out the effects of the SSS ranked talent skill. Suddenly, someone yelled, "Newbies, come to me." Chapter 2, The First Summoned Monster. Zhang Ze followed the sound and saw a tall man and a short-haired woman standing in the center of the altar, waving to the crowd. "We are the staff of the Magic Realm Administration, giving you newbies a lecture about the Magic Realm, plus we'll give each of you a weapon." Upon hearing that there were weapons to be taken, many people were drawn to them. Zhang Ze was also standing in the crowd when he heard the Hanyu say, "I know a lot of people think that Magic Realm is a game, and that's a big mistake. In the game you can still be resurrected if you die, but in the Magic Realm, if you die, you really die. There won't even be a corpse left, it will simply disappear in place." You heard right, no corpse left. It's brutal. So I suggest each and every one of you hit the ground running and don't make any mistakes, because it could be fatal. The monsters here are divided into 2 types, one is the normal monsters and the other is the boss. The monsters only have normal attacks, but the boss possesses skills, so be especially careful. Also, if you want to leave the demon realm you must come back here to the altar, otherwise even if you swollen the back of your hand it will be in vain. The short-haired woman continued, in addition to watching out for monsters, you must also beware of your own kind. The Magic Realm is a land outside the law, where the laws are not binding, and where crooks, murderers, and so on, can be found everywhere. So for your safety, don't trust just anyone, even family and friends. When the crowd heard their words, each of them showed nervousness, but there were also people who disdained them in their hearts, thinking that these two were alarmists. What a nag, didn't they say they'd give us weapons, when will they do it? Someone shouted. The Hanyu took out a large box from his personal storage and opened it full of all sorts of cold weapons. Everyone line up and fill out the questionnaire before picking up a weapon, 1 per person. The crowd lined up to fill out the forms, the questionnaires were handed to the short-haired woman, and the man handed out the weapons. When it was Zhang Ze's turn, he took a look at the questionnaire and filled in the natural skills column with a D grade. Although the pair claimed to be from the Magic Domain Authority, but there was no way for Zhang Ze to know if it was true or not, so he would not reveal his cards. He then pointed to a longbow. "I want this bow." The Hanyu nodded. "Long-range weapons, the attack is not high, but it is safer, and those who are cautious can live longer." Within the magic realm, whatever weapon is used will automatically gain the passive skills of that weapon. Zhang Ze picked up the longbow, and the skill bar below automatically appeared: Archery Proficiency, Rank 1, Effect, Increase Accuracy by 20%. Hardwood Longbow. Quality, D. Damage, 10 to 20. Special Effects, none. Endurance, 100/100. In Magic, the quality of equipment is also categorized into D, C, B, A, S, SS, SSS, and S grade or above have special effects. Sure enough, the freebies are junk, but I'm in no position to pick and choose right now. Zhang Ze immediately equipped his bow and arrows. A longbow of about 2 meters appeared in his hand, and the arrows were in unlimited supply, which saved him a lot of trouble. All of them got their hands on a weapon, and then dispersed in a flurry, each looking for monsters to practice on. The Hanyu put away his equipment box and asked the woman next to him, "How many A rank or higher talents are there this time?" "It's only 3. The woman shook her head and sighed. "It's really not as good as one session." Instead of going out to fight monsters like the others, Zhang Ze stood in place, practicing his archery proficiency, arrow after arrow, proficiency in archery +1. Proficiency in archery +1. Proficiency in archery +1. Sharpening his sword, Zhang Ze practiced archery proficiency to level 4 in one breath, and his accuracy had already reached 80%, so he went out with peace of mind. The Guide to the Magic Realm states that there are 3 types of monsters on the first level, namely the Violent Rabbit, the Hard-Armored Tortoise, and the Iron-Toothed Wolf. Violent Rabbit is fast and has high evasion, but low defense. Hard-armored turtles have high defense and thick blood, but are slow. The Iron-Toothed Wolf is the boss of the first level, characterized by fast speed, high attack, and the skill, Tear, which inflicts 5 consecutive hits on the target with a bleeding effect. Zhang Ze walked out of the altar not far before he saw 2 people surrounding a Violent Rabbit. Violent Rabbit's appearance is a rabbit head body. The rabbit head is not at all the kind of cute and lovely image, but extremely fierce and ferocious. It was close to 2 meters tall. The body was very robust, and the muscles all over its body were extremely developed, a piece bulging like a fist, full of power. The 2 men who surrounded the Violent Rabbit, one holding a spear and the other a machete, were not at all a match for the Violent Rabbit, even though they were fighting 2 against 1. When Violent Bunny swung over, he knocked the one with the spear on its back, and a red -35 damage value flew up above his head. Crap! This Violent Rabbit is too damn hard to fight. I just slashed at it and it even dodged it. Not bad for a rabbit, so agile. Those 2 people fought with Violent Rabbit for a while longer, but because their weapon mastery levels were too low, their power could not be utilized at all, and they were soon crippled by Violent Rabbit before fleeing back to the altar safe zone in a sorry state. The stone pillars around the altar would fire magic rays, and several blue rays shot over, dealing 50 points of damage to the Violent Rabbit at once, who fled in panic. Zhang Ze was waiting for this opportunity. He immediately opened his bow and released an arrow, nailing the back of the Violent Rabbit with an arrow. 25. The Violent Rabbit reversed its direction and pounced on Zhang Ze, who remained calm in the face of danger and shot at the Violent Rabbit while wandering away. -9. -11. 26. The running Violent Rabbit suddenly lurched and fell to the ground. With a thud, it hung. Immediately after that, a small, faint red ball of light jumped out of the Violent Rabbit's corpse, and within a moment, the corpse faded away. Zhang Ze immediately walked over to him, and the small red ball of light automatically entered his backpack. You have gained 1 lower power magic soul sphere. When monsters in the magic realm die, they will usually randomly drop magic soul orb. The quality of magic soul orb is divided into lower, middle, and higher ranks. Different colors of magic soul orb correspond to different attributes. Red is strength, green is constitution, blue is spirit, and yellow is agility. By absorbing a magic soul orb with the corresponding attribute, the attribute value will be increased by a certain amount. The lower ranked magic soul sphere could raise it by 0. 0 1 points, the middle ranked could raise it by 0 1 points, and the higher ranked could raise it by 1.10 lower order. Magic soul orbs can be synthesized into 1 middle order, magic soul orb, and 10 middle order. Magic soul orbs can be synthesized into 1 higher order, magic soul orb. Getting the magic soul orb can either be absorbed by yourself or taken to sell for money. On the trading platform of the magic domain, the magic soul orb is in huge demand, with the supply falling short of demand all year round. I remembered that on the platform, 1 lower-ranked magic soul orb costs 1,000 yuan up and down. Zhang Ze thought about it and did not absorb the magic soul orb. Raising your attributes by 0 1 points doesn't see any effect, so you might as well save up for now. You killed 1 violent rabbit, you can summon 1 replicant. Do you summon it? A prompt appeared, and Zhang Ze immediately chose to summon it. Brush. A green light formation appeared on the ground, and the figure of a violent rabbit emerged from the light. Violent rabbit, Rakshasa. Level 1, max 5. Experience 1 out of 10. Blood 150. Attack 40 to 60. Defense 20. Skills none. When the violent rabbit saw Zhang Ze, he immediately walked up to him and knelt down on one knee to show his submission. Zhang Ze was in a good mood. This was Zhang Ze's first summoned monster. With it, Zhang Ze would have a much easier time fighting monsters. Go, fight monsters with brother. Zhang Ze led the violent rabbit towards the depths of the grassland, and met 2 people on the way. The other party saw a violent rabbit hopping and jumping behind Zhang Ze, and a surprised look appeared on his face. Ugh! What's the situation? The monsters in the magic realm all actively attack. Why isn't this violent rabbit attacking him? Could it be that this violent rabbit is special? Like, can it be tamed? Could it be that there are still violent rabbits that can be tamed? Then let's hurry up and tame one too. In case we succeed, we'll make a fortune. Yeah, there just happens to be one there. Let's go over there and try it. 10 minutes later, those 2 were beaten by violent rabbit and fled in distress. Zhang Ze led the violent rabbit to a pond where he saw a hard-armored turtle. Chapter 3. Growing the team. The hard-armored turtle, also with a turtle's head and human body and a large gray turtle shell on its back, walked slowly around the pond. That's it. Violent rabbit on. At Zhang Ze's command, the violent rabbit charged out like an arrow, and when its fist smashed into the hard-armored turtle's head, Zhang Ze's arrow flew in. 13. Violent rabbit. -2. Rakshasa. Nima, my damage isn't as high as the summoned monsters. Zhang Ze bristled and continued shooting. The hard-armored turtle's movements were really slow, and it was only after Zhang Ze and the violent rabbit had hit it several times that it made a counterattack. But the damage is also really high. Boo! Violent rabbit was knocked over by a punch from hard-armored turtle. A large red damage floats up. -31. A single punch knocked out 1/5 of violent rabbit's blood. Seeing that half of the blood slots on the hard-armored turtle's head were still left, Zhang Ze had the violent rabbit continue to top the front and finally knocked down the hard-armored turtle. So close. Violent rabbit almost died. After a bitter fight, the violent rabbit only had 12 points of blood left, but fortunately, the violent rabbit would automatically be full of blood when the fight was over, and Zhang Ze breathed a sigh of relief. The hard-armored turtle dropped 1 lower-order green, magic soul orb, which Zhang Ze deposited into his backpack before summoning a duplicate of the hard-armored turtle. Hard-nailed turtle, Rakshasa. Level 1, max 5. Experience 1 out of 10. Blood 250. Attack 60 to 80. Defense 50. Skills none. Looking at the attributes of the hard-armored turtle, Zhang Ze smacked his lips straight. This blood, this attack, this defense. It's really high. Now, behind Zhang Ze, the violent rabbit stood on his left and the hard-armored turtle stood on his right, the boss's faction in full force. Haha, the more monsters I summon, the stronger I am. Zhang Ze was excited in his heart. I can still summon 8 more. Well, let's divide them evenly then. 5 violent rabbits, 5 hard-armored turtles, balanced offense and defense, perfect invincibility. Brothers, go. Zhang Ze took his 2 little brothers out to fight monsters, and in no time, he found 2 violent rabbits. Zhang Ze directly sent out the hard-armored turtle to attract the attention of the 2 violent rabbits, and then let the violent rabbits assist from the back, while he himself hid in a safe place and slowly shot an arrow. -35. Scleractinian turtles. -17. Violent rabbit. -10. Rakshasa. 5 minutes later. You have killed 2 violent rabbits, you can summon 2 clones, do you summon them? Zhang Ze immediately summoned it, and thus, 2 more violent rabbits were added to his summoning team, increasing his strength once again. Haha, cool. With 4 minions, Zhang Ze became more bold, and he began to explore deeper into the grassland. The deeper you go, the more monsters there are and the denser they become, often seeing groups of 3 or 5 violent rabbits and hard-armored turtles. Zhang Ze pushed his way through, killing turtles when he saw them and slaughtering rabbits when he saw them, finally getting his summoning team together. Not only that, the first violent rabbit summoned by Zhang Ze had also upgraded because it had killed 10 targets. Tier 2 violent rabbit, faster, more evasive, and quite a bit more attack. Now, it was able to pick off 2 level 1 violent rabbits by itself, and had become the #1 war general under Zhang Ze. Without realizing it, I actually got so many demonic soul orbs. As Zhang Ze released his minions to fight monsters, he checked his backpack and realized that 35 magic soul orbs had actually accumulated inside, of which 11 were red, 5 were green, 10 were blue, and 9 were yellow. Go hang a few magic soul orbs on the platform in a while, and buy some delicious food for my sister tomorrow to celebrate. Zhang Ze thought happily. He had obtained the SSS ranked natural skill, his future was unlimited, it was only a matter of time before he became a strong magic realm player, and he wouldn't have to worry about money in the future. Ding! You've received a message from the class message group. Curious, Zhang Ze opened it and found that it was sent by the class teacher, Lu Wei. All students, gather at the altar immediately now, there is an important announcement. Frowning, Zhang Ze summoned all of his minions back and then put them into the summoning space, and next time, with just a thought, they would automatically appear by Zhang Ze's side because Zhang Ze was too far into the grassland. When he arrived at the altar, almost the entire class was there. Lu Wei stood in the center of the altar, and next to him stood a red power-dressed girl with a ponytail. The young girl had a playful face, but her expression was serious, and she looked like a stranger. In magic, characterization can be altered, but not so much that you can't turn an ugly girl into a beauty. That is to say, it's beautiful in the magic realm, and it won't be that bad in reality. This young girl did not cover her face. It seems that she is very confident in her strength and is not afraid of being assassinated. Everyone should be here, right? No more waiting. Lu Wei clapped his hands and signaled the crowd to be quiet. You all should have read the guide to the magic realm. In order to reach the next level you must defeat the boss that guards this level. But the boss is very hard to fight, it's too difficult and too dangerous for you newbies. So, for everyone's safety, the school has invited a strong demon realm master to help you defeat the first tier boss Iron Tooth Wolf and open the second tier gates. Everyone applaud. There was a round of applause. Isn't this the talented girl from the last session who awakened her S-rank natural skill? You mean, the one who was later guaranteed a place at the Qing University Martial Arts School? Yeah, that's her. Another school beauty and a genius, TSK, she's got all the good things. Hearing someone talking, Zhang Ze took a closer look at the young girl. No wonder he dared to reveal his true face, so he had awakened his S-class talent. Only the young girl stepped forward and said faintly, "Hello everyone, you can call me Moon Shadow. I want to emphasize a few points here. Don't underestimate the boss on the first floor, it's harder to deal with than you think. Everyone must listen to my command, unauthorized actions are prohibited, or else you will suffer the consequences." Moon Shadow stepped back after that, seemingly not wanting to say another word. Lu Wei came up. Next, Miss Moon Shadow will take everyone off. I hope everyone will listen to the command and act in unison. We must be more careful in the demon region, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. After saying that, the homeroom teacher nodded to Moon Shadow, who manipulated the light screen in front of him, and everyone present received an invitation to form a team. Moon Shadow invites you to join the team, do you agree? Zhang Ze chose to agree and join the team, and the team distribution method was free distribution. Although it was freely distributed, the rewards dropped by the boss undoubtedly went to Moon Shadow. After all, Lunar Shadow was the main attacker and it was dangerous to fight the boss. Zhang Ze found Moon Shadow in his team and wanted to check her information. Name, Moon Shadow. No. C24751012. Blood? Energized? Damage? Speed? Attributes. Strength? 10 points for ordinary people. Physique? 10 points for ordinary people. Spirit? 10 points for ordinary people. Agility? 10 points for normal people. Assignable attribute points? Skill? Equipment, sword. General evaluation, skilled swordsman. Question mark. It was because Moon Shadow had blocked that information, and it seemed that the key information had been blocked to protect privacy. Next, I'm counting on you for these students. Lu Wei nodded to Moon Shadow and exited the game. Moon Shadow walked out of the altar first, with the crowd trailing behind, and the group of more than 50 people looked eye-catching as they walked on the grassland. Midway through, he met a few violent rabbits and hard-armored turtles, which Moon Shadow casually resolved with a few swords, drawing a sigh of admiration from the crowd. Indeed, a skillful swordsman with exquisite swordsmanship. Zhang Ze thought in his heart. Soon, the crowd arrived in front of a tall and ancient stone door, through which was the second level of the demon domain. A 3-meter-tall iron-toothed wolf was standing in front of the stone door with its back facing the crowd. Just by looking at its robust back covered with scars it gave off a fierce, brutal feeling. Chapter 4, Is this too much for you? Moon Shadow raised his hand and the crowd stopped in their tracks. Leave the iron-toothed wolf to me. If you don't want to die, keep a safe distance from me and don't attack the iron-toothed wolf without authorization either. After I kill the iron-toothed wolves, each of you will be given a key, using which you can enter the second level through the stone door. After saying that, Moon Shadow closed her eyes and took a breath, then walked towards Iron-Tooth Wolf with her head held high, leaving the crowd with a valiant back. So handsome. I'm a woman who's moved. I want to hug the beautiful god's thigh. You're too fat for the beauty god to carry you. Moon Shadow had now fought her way up to the 5th floor of the demon domain, and she had fought every boss on every floor, and the Iron-Tooth Wolf had no difficulty for her, which was why she was asked to help. Since it was an invitation from his alma mater, Moon Shadow couldn't refuse, so he agreed. The sound of Moon Shadow's footsteps alerted the iron-toothed wolf, which turned its head back and grinned, revealing its sharp fangs. Chop of light. Moon Shadow rushed to the front of the iron-toothed wolf, deftly dodging the sharp claws that grabbed at him head-on. The western sword in his hand appeared with a cold light and struck out coldly. Only 3 streaks of piercing white light were seen imprinted on the iron-toothed wolf's chest, and the sword light pierced through the iron-toothed wolf's thick-skinned body. -88. -176. -752. The iron-toothed wolf's blood trough instantly emptied, and it fell to the ground with a thud on its back. Slash of Light was Moon Shadow's S-rank natural skill, and its attributes were very domineering. Cookie No Chop, S. Grade, 1. Experience, 378/1000. Consumption, 10 points of vitality. Cooldown, 60 seconds. Effect. Performs a sword attack on the target, doubling the damage with each chop, and blasting on top of the doubling on the final chop, dealing massive damage. Remarks. Level 1 Light Slash inflicts 3 consecutive slashes on the target. Level 2 Light Slash inflicts 5 consecutive slashes on the target. Level 3 light slash, inflicts 10 consecutive slashes on the target. Level 4 light slash, inflicts 20 consecutive slashes on the target. Level 5 light slash, dealing 50 consecutive slashes to the target. Moon Shadow stood behind Iron Tooth Wolf, his longsword slowly sheathed, his movements dashing and unparalleled, once again drawing gasps from the crowd. Killing the boss in one move. Worthy of a genius. It's awesome. This is the power of an S-rank talent skill? Terrifying. Look at my D-ranked natural skill, people will die compared to people. The iron-toothed wolf dropped 5 lower-order red, magic soul orbs, 3 lower-order green, magic soul orbs, 2 lower-order yellow, magic soul orbs, and also a D-quality boxing glove. Moon Shadow walked over and all of these rewards flew into her backpack. You guys should have gotten the key, hurry up and pass through the stone door, the boss will be refreshed in 1 hour. After finishing with the crowd, Moon Shadow opened the friend channel. Moon Shadow, sorry, I was just helping people fight the boss on the 1st floor, it's just ending now, I'll go to the 5th floor to meet up with everyone right away. Giant God, it's okay, we're still waiting for you here at the 5th floor boss, you're the main force, can't be absent, haha. Little princess of money, Sister Moon Shadow is so caring, if it were me, I wouldn't help out without paying $1 million for my hard work. Grumpy Dragon King, I think you've fallen into the eye of money, you can't get away from money in 3 sentences. Little princess of money, what? I just like money. Money makes me happy. One night to know autumn, everyone, don't just chat, be careful of sneak attacks. A few days ago, a squad was sneak attacked and in the end the whole squad was wiped out. Giant God, Jicho is right, everyone be careful, Moon Shadow sighed too. Moon Shadow was just about to reply when he suddenly felt the air around him thicken, and even breathing felt oppressive. This is the sign of boss refreshing. How can it be, it hasn't even been an hour yet. Moon Shadow's face changed drastically as she twisted her head to look, and saw a black vortex steeply appear in front of her, and an iron-toothed wolf stepped out. Nope. This iron-toothed wolf is not like the usual ones. This iron-toothed wolf was bigger, more ferocious looking, and had a black aura lingering around it. Moon Shadow suddenly remembered that a senior from the Magic Domain Authority had mentioned that sometimes special bosses, elite bosses, would be refreshed. The strength of the elite bosses has skyrocketed across the board, with one elite boss topping 5 regular bosses. Historically, an elite boss had been brushed out on the 17th floor of the Demon Realm, and the Authority had deployed 3 battle teams to exterminate it, but dozens of people had died in battle, and the battle had been very grueling. I didn't realize that she actually had the honor of meeting an elite boss. Although this was the 1st floor, Moon Shadow didn't dare to underestimate this elite boss at all. When the people around them saw another iron-toothed wolf come out, they all froze in place, not knowing what to do. It wasn't until Moon Shadow shouted, "Run!" Only then did the crowd react and flee in all directions. Zhang Ze ran along with the crowd for a while, then returned without moving, a bold idea suddenly arising in his heart. Moon Shadow left a message in his friend channel, "I met the elite boss." He then closed the channel and rushed towards the elite iron-toothed wolf. The elite boss isn't easy to deal with, but it's from the 1st floor, so I should still be able to handle it. This is a good opportunity to exercise myself. I want to become stronger. A backdrop flashed through Moon Shadow's mind, and a sky-high fighting spirit was ignited in his heart. The elite iron-toothed wolf sensed that Moon Shadow was approaching and turned to meet her, its huge sharp claws slashing down in the air. 5 black lines seemed to slice through space. This was the iron-toothed wolf's skill, tier. Moon Shadow tried her best to dodge, but the speed of the elite iron-toothed wolf's attack was beyond her imagination, and she was able to avoid 3 attacks, but the other 2 could no longer be avoided. 170. Elite iron-toothed wolf. 147. Elite iron-toothed wolf. You're bleeding. -115. Bleeding. Every 10 seconds, Moon Shadow will drop 1% of his blood and will bleed to death if not stopped. The pain made Moon's shadow sweat run cold. She gritted her teeth and continued to swing her sword, releasing another light slash, which accurately struck the elite iron-tooth wolf's body. -33. -66. -199. The damage is so low. Moon's shadow's heart sank. Light slash was her most powerful move, and surprisingly it only dealt less than 300 points of damage. How high was the defense of this elite iron-tooth wolf? Roar. The elite iron-toothed wolf slammed headlong into Moon's shadow, who dodged aside, but unexpectedly hit the elite iron-toothed wolf right in the face, and 5 more black scratches fell. 139. Elite iron-toothed wolf. 145. Elite iron-toothed wolf. 166. Elite iron-toothed wolf. 174. Elite iron-toothed wolf. 167. Elite iron-toothed wolf. Danger. Your blood level is too low, please replenish it promptly. A system prompt flashed before Moon's shadow's eyes. She wanted to replenish her blood, but could the elite iron-tooth wolf give her a chance? You can't be interrupted while using blood tonic, otherwise it doesn't have any blood replenishment effect. Dying? There was despair in Moon's shadow's eyes as she gripped the sword in her hand and prepared to make a last stand brush. Snap. An arrow was suddenly nailed to the forehead of the iron-toothed wolf. The feather at the end of the arrow was still quivering slightly. Nice one. Only 3 points of damage? This defense is too much. However, I like it. Zhang Ze put away his bow and arrow, then turned around and ran. Behind him, the elite iron-tooth wolf let out a roar and chased wildly towards Zhang Ze. Moon's shadow were dumbfounded. He is trying to save me? Then he got annoyed. Nonsense. A newbie taking on an elite boss, is that too much for his own life? She had the intention to go after them, but her own current situation was not optimistic. The bleeding effect was still continuing. If she didn't stop the bleeding in a hurry, she would have to bleed to death if she didn't die at the hands of the boss. Don't you die, asshole. I'm not going to owe someone a favor. Moon's shadow gritted his teeth and took out a bandage to stop the bleeding, then opened a bottle of blood replenishing pill and drank it in one gulp, anxiously waiting for his blood to recover. Just then, several silhouettes approached sharply from a distance. Chapter 5, Defeating the Elite Boss. Sister Moon's shadow. Are you all right? Across the distance, a clear female voice came over. Moonshadow looked over to see a short little girl in a princess costume running over to her, and with a wave of the scepter in her hand, a green light landed on Moonshadow's body. Green blessing. Plus 245. The Little Princess of Money. Plus 269. The Little Princess of Money. Plus 217. The Little Princess of Money. The little girl was followed by 3 men, all of whom Moon's shadow recognized, and she nodded to the crowd. Giant God, Dragon King, Jiqiu, Princess, what brings you here? Can we not come? You met an elite boss. The grumpy Dragon King called out, you're crazy. That thing is something you can fight alone? One night knowing Autumn followed suit, the Dragon King is right, you're taking too much of a risk, even the elite boss on the first level is too dangerous, you should find more helpers before you act. Moonshadow looked away. I just want to get stronger. The Dragon King raised his eyebrows, you're bewitched, aren't you? You can't get away from getting stronger in 3 sentences. All right. The giant god waved his hand to stop the Dragon King. I can understand Moonshadow's feelings, it's good that the person is fine now. The little Princess of Money raised her eyes and looked around, asking suspiciously, hey, Sister Moonshadow, where's that elite boss? It was only then that Moonshadow reacted and said anxiously, there's a newbie who lured away the elite iron-tooth wolf. Let's go save him. Zhang Ze ran furiously all the way, with the elite iron-toothed wolves behind him in hot pursuit. Gotta find a place with fewer people and fewer monsters to do it in. The reward goes to whoever gives the monster the most hits in the magic realm. Zhang Ze didn't want to go through all the trouble only to end up doing someone else's graft. His strength was too low right now, and he wouldn't have to worry about being afraid when the summoning technique rose to level 5-inch. Well, it's nice here. Zhang Ze saw a depression in front of him, and if he lured the elite iron-toothed wolf inside, no one else would be able to see it from the outside. The elite iron-toothed wolf was unaware of this and followed Zhang Ze as he turned into the mountain pass. Brothers out to work. Zhang Ze's mind moved, and 10 figures appeared behind him, with 5 violent rabbits and 5 hard-armored turtles kneeling obediently to him. With a finger pointing at the elite iron-toothed wolves, Zhang Ze ordered, "Go." Roar. 10 summoned monsters rushed out in unison. The violent rabbit was faster than the hard-armored turtle, so it was the first to rush to the elite iron-toothed wolf and surrounded it, wheeling up its furry fists to start pounding. -20. Violent rabbit. -24. Violent rabbit. -19. Violent rabbit. -22. Violent rabbit. -66. Violent rabbit LV2. The elite iron-toothed wolf grabbed one of the violent rabbits and then slammed it down hard on the ground. 271. Elite iron-toothed wolf. Violent rabbit, died. Crap. My rabbit. Zhang Ze couldn't sit still. He had expected that this elite iron-toothed wolf had a high attack, but he didn't expect it to be so high that it actually killed the violent rabbit with a single strike. The remaining 4 violent rabbits continued to surround the elite iron-toothed wolf, but in the blink of an eye, another one was slapped to death by the elite iron-toothed wolf. This won't work. Zhang Ze looked toward the hard-armored turtle with a speechless face. Can you guys speed up a bit? The violent rabbits over here are too dead in battle, and the hard-armored turtles are only halfway there. In desperation, Zhang Ze had no choice but to recall the violent rabbit back to his side and have the hard-armored turtle stop the elite iron-toothed wolf. The high defense and thick blood of the hard-armored turtle was finally able to withstand the attacks of the elite iron-toothed wolf, and only then did Zhang Ze re-release the violent rabbit to fight in tandem with the hard-armored turtle. -22. Violent rabbit. -51. Scleractinian tortoise. -48. Scleractinian turtle. -24. Violent rabbit. -69. Violent rabbit LV2. -4. Rakshasa. Zhang Ze also drew his bow and shot arrows from the back. Although his attacks only dealt single-digit damage, a mosquito's leg is still meat, isn't it? The hard-armored turtle's attacks were relatively impressive, but they were too slow, and the violent rabbit's damage wasn't too high, so Zhang Ze was basically a toolman, so that level 2 violent rabbit became the main attacker. The battle was fought hard. The elite iron-toothed wolves were really not ordinary characters, and they did not lose out even under siege. But 2 fists couldn't beat 4 hands. And after more than an hour, its blood level finally bottomed out. However, the summoned monsters on Zhang Ze's side are also almost dead, and there are still 2 hard-armored turtles and 2 violent rabbits. Ergo, there is now 1 left. Die for me. Zhang Ze desperately shot arrows. If he still couldn't kill the elite iron-toothed wolf, he was going to become a bare-knuckle secretary and orderer. Suddenly, the body of that elite iron-toothed wolf stiffened, then slowly collapsed. The elite iron-toothed wolf was finally finished off by Zhang Ze and his minions, who had been soft-pedaling for an hour and a half. A large pile of various colored, magic soul orbs exploded all over the place. There were even 2 pieces of equipment. Haha. Yes. Zhang Ze immediately ran over and all the rewards all flew into his backpack. It was worthy of being an elite-level boss, and the demon soul orb that dropped was actually a mid-ranked one. Zhang Ze counted 9 middle-order red, magic soul orbs, 6 middle-order green, magic soul orbs, 7 middle-order blue, magic soul orbs, and 4 middle-order yellow, magic soul orbs. The 2 pieces of equipment are Wolf Tooth Necklace. Quality, C. Mental, +05. Special effects, none. Endurance, 100/100. Wolf bone knife. Quality, C. Damage, 50 to 90. Special effects, none. Endurance, 100/100. I can use the necklace. This wolf bone knife does quite a lot of damage, but I won't go into melee combat, it's not much use, hang it up and sell it later. Zhang Ze finished counting the loot in his backpack, and with excitement, he began to summon the iron-toothed wolf. Roar! An elite iron-toothed wolf appeared out of nowhere, and as soon as it made its appearance, it let out a howl in a demonstrative manner, causing Zhang Ze to become nervous for a while, fearing that this fellow would suddenly attack him. It's a good thing that this doesn't happen. Summoned monsters are absolutely obedient to their masters, no matter how brave they were in life. The elite iron-toothed wolf bowed to Zhang Ze on one knee, and Zhang Ze breathed a sigh of relief, trading 4 violent rabbits and 3 iron-armored turtles for an elite boss. That's a good deal. Zhang Ze tilted his head and looked at the iron-toothed wolf, which was more than 2 meters taller than himself, and nodded his head in satisfaction. Iron-toothed wolf, Rakshasa. Level, 1, max 5. Experience, 1 out of 10. Blood, 3000. Attack, 260 to 380. Defense, 1500. Skill, tearing. Haha, this attribute is too awesome. It's an invincible existence at the first level. Zhang Ze couldn't help but laugh. Looking at the time, it was already late at night after 11:00 p.m. Tomorrow, he still had to attend classes, in addition to the fact that his body would be very tired after staying in the magic realm for a long period of time. Zhang Ze decided to go offline and take a rest. Before going offline, Zhang Ze checked his backpack, and he had a good harvest today: 61 various lower-order magic soul orbs and 25 middle-order magic soul orbs. It just so happened that it was possible to synthesize a high-level red magic soul orb, so Zhang Ze thought about it and absorbed the high-level red magic soul orb, while the rest were listed on the trading network ready to be sold. According to the guide, if my strength value increases, my strength in reality will follow suit. Let's go offline first and try out the school martial arts center tomorrow. Chapter 6, This is the Real Hero. Zhang Ze had just gotten offline, and Moon Shadow and the others had also arrived at this mountain pass. No, Sister Moon Shadow, are you sure it's this direction? The little princess pouted her little mouth. That's an elite boss. Beating it to death will definitely drop a lot of rewards. That's all money. The Dragon King grunted and said, You're overthinking it, aren't you? Elite bosses, are that easy to deal with? It's still not clear who will die. The little princess glared at the Dragon King and said without a trace of anger, 2 S-ranked talents and 3 A-ranked talents, isn't this lineup powerful enough? I don't believe that the 5 of us can't defeat an elite boss when we join forces. It's not really easy to say. It also depends on how strong or weak the elite boss is. The giant god opened his mouth. He was stable and older than everyone, so he had the highest prestige and usually held the position of captain. One night Knowing Autumn looked at the Moon Shadow, who had been silent, and shook his head. Moon Shadow, I am afraid to save that novice of yours. Moon Shadow was silent for a moment and said, Tomorrow I'll go to the school to look for Mr. Lu Wei. That person should be his student. If someone is really killed, he should know. There was a flash of light in the living room, and Zhang Ze's figure appeared. It was after 1:00 am. His sister was already asleep, so Zhang Ze gently returned to his room. Obtaining the SSS talent filled Zhang Ze with hope for the future, and he forced down the excitement in his heart as he drifted into sleep. The next day, Zhang Ze was awakened by a wafting aroma of rice and went out of the bedroom to see his sister Zhang Feng cooking in the kitchen. Good morning, brother. Wait for a while, the food will be ready soon. Zhang Feng smiled faintly at Zhang Ze, but her face was a bit pale. Zhang Ze knew that the function of Zhang Feng's artificial kidney was declining and he had to pay the rent in time to continue to use it. Normally he didn't say anything as the meal was ready and the siblings sat down to eat. Brother, I've heard that the Devil's Domain is very dangerous, otherwise you'd better not go. Zhang Feng gave Zhang Ze a piece of egg. I can figure out how to deal with the rent myself. How are you going to settle it? Zhang Ze froze for a moment. That wasn't a small amount. His sister was still a 16-year-old student. Where would she get that much money? It's a secret. He. Zhang Feng sold the secret and didn't say anything. I'll take care of the rent. You don't have to worry about it. Zhang Ze shook his head. At a young age, study hard. He had originally planned to tell his sister about his awakening of the SSS ranked talent, but after thinking about it, he decided to conceal it. The fewer people who know this secret, the better, especially their friends and family, or they will be involved in danger. Brother, trust me. Zhang Feng said anxiously. She hadn't dared to ask Zhang Ze what talent he had awakened for fear of hurting her brother's pride. After all, out of 10,000 people, there were no more than 5 people who could awaken an A-rank talent, and the rest were ordinary or even trash talents. Zhang Feng was not looking down on his brother, but the possibility was really too low. This matter is settled. Zhang Ze stripped the rice from his bowl and waved his hand as he walked out of the house. Arriving at the school, as soon as he entered the classroom, Zhang Ze heard his classmates discussing about yesterday's trip to the magic realm. Alas! Old me has awakened a D-rank talent, and I can only be an ordinary person in this life. There's nothing wrong with being ordinary is real. Speaking so spontaneously, what talent have you awakened? B class. Nima. We agreed to be losers together, but you became a genius. Zhang Ze silently walked over to his desk and took out his cell phone to check the magic soul orb he had listed on the trading network last night, as well as the dagger. Unsurprisingly, the things all sold out. Zhang Ze directly withdraw cash, the bank account of $980,000. The magic soul orb was so sought after that there were many people who stared at the trading network every day, and once someone put up an order, they directly swept it away. It doesn't matter if the price is a little higher. Behind these buyers are major consortiums, national institutions, and private organizations that have bought the magic soul orb to use on the talents they cultivate. If Zhang Ze hadn't been in desperate need of money, he wouldn't have taken it and sold it. We'll go to the demon region today and make sure to hit more demon soul orbs. The class bell rang and the class teacher Lu Wei walked into the classroom, followed by a young girl. Many people could tell at a glance that this young girl was the moon shadow who had led them to fight the first-level boss yesterday. Wow, seeing the goddess herself, even prettier than in the magic realm. I wonder if the goddess has a boyfriend. It would be great if she doesn't. Wake up. You don't deserve anyone else in your life. Lu Wei cleared his throat and the classroom quieted down. Class, last night there was an unexpected incident while fighting the first-level boss. I won't go into the details, you were all there. So let me ask, who was the one who helped student Lu Yuing lure the boss away at that time? Please step forward. Moon Shadow student would like to thank him personally. The students looked at each other in disbelief. They all ran away in fear when the elite iron-toothed wolves came out, and they weren't sure what happened afterward. Zhang Ze didn't come forward. He wasn't trying to save anyone at that time, and once Moon Shadow asked about that elite iron-toothed wolf, it would be easy to be exposed, so he kept silent. After waiting for a while and no one said anything, Lu Wei frowned and said to Lu Yuing next to him, Yuing student, that person might not be from our class. Lu Yuing sighed slightly and nodded her head. I know, Mr. Lu Wei, if you inquire about the news, please inform me. Lu Wei sent Lu Yuing out of the classroom and the class exploded. Who is this? Dare to lure the elite boss, don't want to die. That's a real hero. Admirable. Ugh. Showdown, I was actually the one who lured the monster away. Is it too late to talk to the goddess? But you can't get this drunk with a peanut. Next to Zhang Ze, a little fat guy with glasses poked him. Actually, I know who it is. The fat man's name was Wang Yang, and he was one of Zhang Ze's few friends. Wang Yang's family is well off, but his studies are too dreary, so Zhang Ze often helps him with his homework, and in return, Wang Yang will send Zhang Ze some money. Who is it? Zhang Ze froze and turned his head to look at Wang Yang. Wang Yang said mysteriously, "After the elite iron-tooth wolf came out, everyone ran out, only one person ran back. I remember his name, it seems to be called Rakshasa." Zhang Ze didn't move. "That's not necessarily true, right? Maybe he just panicked too much, so he ran in the wrong direction. Besides, did you see that Rakshasa lure the boss with your own eyes?" Wang Yang scratched his head. "This is not." He waved his hand. "Forget it, this matter has nothing to do with us, brother. Go to the magic field to fight monsters together after school at night? I have an appointment with 2 girls, just one for each one." He. "No, I still have to work at the school martial arts center." Zhang Ze simply refused. "I remember your sister's kidney needs to pay rent again, right?" Wang Yang's face became serious. "Tell your brother if you need money." "Thanks, I can handle it myself." Zhang Ze smiled faintly. "That's fine, if you go to the magic realm remember to look for me. Oh, my name is Handsome Fatty." If he did not have absolute trust in Zhang Ze, Wang Yang would not have told Zhang Ze his name in the magic realm. After school, Zhang Ze ran to the school martial arts center to clean up. At that moment, a group of people were gathered around a force measuring machine, watching a boy swing at a punch target. Chapter 7, I'm just a poor bastard. A gasp came. 507 pounds. 7 pounds higher than the admission line for the Qing University Martial Arts School. Cowardly, worthy of being the student with the strongest strength in the 5 high schools. I heard that it also awakened an A-rank talent. The future is unlimited. The boy who was being honored by the stars was pleased with himself. He wiped off his sweat and said modestly, "I'm not even close, maybe there is someone in our school who is even better than me. After all, the masters are all very low-key." "Xinghao, you're low-key enough. Anyone else with your accomplishments would have already been publicizing it everywhere." "That's right, Great God is too modest, I see. Besides that Lu Yueying from the last session, you're the most powerful." Xinghao waved his hand repeatedly. "I wouldn't dare to compare myself to Goddess Moon's shadow. She is the proud daughter of heaven who possesses S-class talent, guaranteed admission to Qing University's martial arts school, and is now a strong demon realm. I'd be so happy to be half as strong as her that I wouldn't be able to sleep." The group talked and laughed as they left the martial arts training ground. Zhang Ze mopped the field with a mop, looked around to see that no one was there, and then walked over to the force measuring machine. The acceptance line for the Qingda Martial Arts School is 500 pounds. Zhang Ze took a stance, clenched his right hand, took a deep breath, twisted his waist and flung his arms, and his fists flashed. Snap! A jab lands on the target. Ding! The numbers are in, 497 pounds. Huh! 1 point of attribute actually boosted so much strength. Zhang Ze was bursting with excitement. He still remembered that the last time he only hit around 390 pounds, and that was still the result of his daily practice. "I'm a little bit short of the admission line, but I'm confident that I'll pass it." Packing up his things, Zhang Ze left the martial arts center. Xinghao came out just in time. He was a senior member of the school martial arts school and had his own separate restroom. He subconsciously glanced at the force measuring machine as he passed it. Xinghao stopped in his tracks, and the force measuring machine was still stuck with the value of the hit that Zhang Ze had just left behind. 497 pounds. Xinghao couldn't hide his surprise inwardly, 3 pounds short of the Qing University Martial Arts School admission line. The fist power of an ordinary person is at most about 200 pounds, and those with better talent can reach 300 with hard training, but it is extremely difficult to reach 500. Xinghao originally only punched out around 400 pounds. It was after landing in the magic realm yesterday that one of his distant elder brothers who had already become a martial arts powerhouse gave him one high-grade red magic soul ball, allowing his strength attribute to be raised to 1 point at once, which led him to punch out a good result of 507 pounds. And this man managed to hit 497 pounds, only 10 pounds less than himself. Qingda Martial Arts School only gives our school 2 enrollment spots, and this person might become my competitor. Who the hell is it? Zhang Ze looked around, he was the only one in the martial arts center. On the way back, Zhang Ze received another short message from his sister, saying that she was going to study at a classmate's house and would go back later. What exactly is this girl up to behind my back? Zhang Ze shook his head. His sister was very independent and unwilling to let others meddle in her affairs, so Zhang Ze rarely asked. Back home, Zhang Ze casually ate a bite and entered the magic domain. May I ask which level of the demon realm you're traveling to? First floor. Second floor. Please choose. After thinking about it, Zhang Ze still chose a floor. He still had 6 empty slots in his current summoned monster queue, and he planned to fill them up before going to the second level to be on the safer side. However, since the second level of the demon domain had been opened, the chances of the first level monsters dropping demon soul orbs would be reduced. This was also to prevent high-level adventurers from coming back and grabbing monsters from the newbies. With a flash in front of his eyes, Zhang Ze appeared on the altar of the first floor. A silhouette of people kept appearing around them, some of them calling out their friends and going out to fight monsters as soon as they came out. Some stood still, looking around blankly, obviously newcomers. People turn 18 every day, so new people come in every day. Zhang Ze saw the pair of men and women from the Magic Domain Authority start to greet the newcomers over again, repeating what they said yesterday, registering the people and distributing weapons. Leaving the altar, Zhang Ze found an unoccupied secluded place and summoned 2 hard-armored tortoises, a violent rabbit, and the elite iron-toothed wolf, preparing to fight the monsters. The monsters on the second level of the demon domain are much harder to fight than the first level. The violent rabbit has a lower offense and defense. Even if it's faster, it's still not enough to look at in front of the strength gap. I'm afraid that it will have to hang up in a few rounds. The hard-armored turtle is different. Its defense is high enough to withstand attacks and has a better chance of surviving. As long as the summoned monsters are higher leveled, the more powerful they will be. So, the leftovers are king. That level 2 violent rabbit made Zhang Ze realize that only high-level summoned monsters would come in handy, so the thick-skinned hard-armored turtle was more suitable than the violent rabbit. Thinking clearly about this, Zhang Ze then decided to leave all the remaining positions in the team to the hard-armored turtle. As he advanced along the way, whenever he met a hard-armored turtle, Zhang Ze would not let it go and send all of his summoned monsters into battle with the elite iron-toothed wolves. The fight is much easier, and you can take care of a hard-armored turtle in a few minutes. After the battle, Zhang Ze immediately summoned the hard-armored turtle to grow the team of summoned monsters. After an hour or so, Zhang Ze's summoned beast team was full. Very well. We can move forward to the next level. Zhang Ze was excited. At the stone door on the first floor, there were often many people fighting the boss, so in order not to attract attention, Zhang Ze first put away all the summoned beasts and waited to reach the second floor before summoning them. As he was running towards the stone gate, Zhang Ze suddenly saw 5 men chasing after a man and 2 women, and the name of the man running at the front was Handsome Fat. Isn't this Wang Yang? Zhang Ze was stunned. That's right, who else but Wang Yang could have such a shameless name? The 2 girls next to Wang Yang should be the ones he found, but why were the 5 people behind them chasing them? Wang Yang was panting, his heart was about to jump out of his mouth. As he ran, he shouted, "Big brother! Grand Master! Don't kill us, we're really newbies, we don't have anything valuable on us." A man's sneer came from behind him, "I know you're newbies, and I don't expect to get anything of value from you. But we could kidnap you all. Punch your real-life relatives for money. Ha ha ha." A vicious laugh was so piercing that Wang Yang and the other 2 girls' faces went white with fear. It's not like this hasn't happened before. Kidnappers use the false identity of the Magic Kingdom as a cover to kidnap for ransom, and even if the police are called, it's still hard to solve the case. What is even more heartless is that even if the ransom is paid, the hostage will hardly be rescued, and the kidnappers will usually tear up the ticket in order to prevent the leakage of identity information. Big brother! My family is old and poor. I'm just a poor bastard, you guys let me off. Wang Yang was in a hurry and attempted to muddle through, trying to fool me. Didn't you just tell those two chicks that you live in a mansion and drive a luxury car? Wang Yang truthfully smacked himself hard, just now for the sake of picking up girls bragging, but now it brought trouble to himself. There's nothing to do but keep running, and it's best to meet good people to help, or else you're dead for the day. The little brat makes you run. Muddy swamp. As soon as the words fell, Wang Yang felt that the land under his feet suddenly turned soft, and then, his feet were firmly plunged into it, and he could no longer pull them out. The two girls next to him did the same, and they wailed in fear. Wang Yang's face changed greatly. This is a natural skill? 5 strong men surrounded the three, one of them named Scarlet Right Hand, wearing a mask, long-haired man hemmed and hawed and walked to Wang Yang, said, "If you do not want to die, tell me honestly, what is the contact information of the family?" Chapter 8. Kill them. Although Wang Yang was scared to death, he knew very well in his heart that once he said it he would surely die. So he kept his mouth shut and died. Yoo-hoo, the kid's bones are still quite hard. Scarlet Right Hand coldly laughed. He did this kidnapping hook not once or twice, has long been familiar with it. Getting cut in the magic realm hurts just as much as in reality. Oh. Saying that, he raised the axe in his hand. Suddenly, an arrow flew over and snapped into the hand of Scarlet's right hand. -12. Rakshasa. Ouch. Who is it? Which asshole is Rakshasa? Dare to attack us? Man over there. A bowman. The eyes of the crowd all shifted to one person. Zhang Ze raised a middle finger at the 5 men, then turned around and ran. Shit. Want to run? Brothers, give chase. The 5 men immediately chased after Zhang Ze. As for Wang Yang's trio, Scarlet Right Hand wasn't worried. His natural skill, Muddy Swamp, effect could last for an hour, and it was more than enough to clean up an archer. Zhang Ze was being chased by 5 people and encountered other people on the way, but no one would mind their own business. Most of them would just watch with cold eyes or whisper a few words. Running along, the group entered within a valley that was surrounded by mountains on 3 sides, with only one exit. Zhang Ze finally stopped. The terrain here was good, no one could escape by guarding the exit. Since he decided to make a move, Zhang Ze didn't think of leaving any survivors. Shit, keep running. Haha. This fool has run into a dead end. Don't let him die too painfully. I'm going to torture and torment him. It's too much of a waste to kill him straight away. Get the money out of him first and then kill him. The 5 men sneered as they approached Zhang Ze, who was calm, and asked lightly, "If you kill someone in the demon domain, will it be known?" The Scarlet Right Hand smiled disdainfully and said, "Don't worry, no one will even know about it unless they say it themselves." That's great. After saying that, Zhang Ze's mind moved. Brush. A hard-armored turtle appeared behind him. Hard-armored turtles? Swipe the monster. Haha, what a coincidence, actually brushing next to that kid. We don't have to rush to do it. The hard-armored turtle can clean up this kid for us. It's hard to break the hard-armored turtle's defense with the bowman's pathetic attack power. Everyone block this kid's retreat and don't let him run away. 5 people held a few directions, cheekily waiting to see how Zhang Ze would be abused by the hard-armored turtle brush. Another hard-armored turtle appeared. Crap? Another new one? Looks like the gods are on our side, haha. With 2 hard-armored turtles clamping down, it's estimated that those with less than A-rank talent won't be able to carry it. Before Schadenfreude's words ended, 3 more hard-armored turtles appeared immediately after. The 5 people's faces then changed slightly. They suddenly felt as if things were not quite right. Nima. This hard-armored turtle refreshes too quickly and too much. It was only after Zhang Ze had summoned all the hard-armored turtles and violent rabbits that the 5 realized that the archer in front of them did not seem to be as simple as it appeared. What's the situation? How did so many monsters suddenly appear? I'm more concerned about why these monsters aren't attacking that archer. Damn, something's not right about this. Let's not wait, let's get our hands on this kid. The 5 were about to make their move when an even more terrifying monster appeared in front of them. Ow! Accompanied by a wolf howl, the elite iron-toothed wolf appeared in front of them, and the powerful aura instantly caused the 5 people to stop hard in their tracks, and each one of them had a face that was incomparably pale. Boss. Why did the first level's boss, the iron-toothed wolf, appear here? It should be guarding the stone door. Brothers, this isn't an ordinary boss, it's an elite boss. Out of the 5, only the Scarlet Right Hand was a B-rank talent, the rest were C and D. Although they had been mixing in the magic realm for several years, because of their trashy talent, their evaluation was still, ordinary adventurer, only a little higher than a novice. It was barely enough to deal with ordinary bosses, but when it came to elite bosses, it was a death. So the 5 men were instantly scared and bloodless, and the bloody right hand stared at Zhang Ze tightly, asking in a mute voice, "You summoned all these monsters? Who the hell are you?" Zhang Ze shrugged, no comment. He pointed with his hand, "Kill them." These guys were no good, killing them Zhang Ze didn't have any psychological burden. Ow. The iron-toothed wolf let out an earth-shattering howl and rushed up with a group of hard-armored turtles as well as violent rabbits. Aha! The kill is coming. What should we do? We can't beat the elite boss. Run. Run for your life. The 5 turned around to escape, only to find a violent rabbit suddenly stopping in front of them. The head of the violent rabbit was clearly LV2. This was something Zhang Ze had quietly set up to prevent these guys from escaping. How is it possible, level 2 violent rabbit? It's the first time I've seen it after hanging out in the tier for so long. Don't just stand there, let's all rush over and destroy that rabbit. 5 men held and killed Violent Rabbit, but all their attacks were easily dodged by Violent Rabbit, and with a bang, a short-haired man was sent flying by Violent Rabbit's punch. -96. Violent Rabbit LV2. Crap. That rabbit does so much damage. The beaten short-haired man's face was pale, his blood level had dropped by a third, and he immediately used the talent skill, Elementary Recovery, to replenish himself with 100 points of blood. But before he could breathe a sigh of relief, a dark shadow was already standing behind him. The elite iron-toothed wolf's eyes flashed with the red light of killing, and its giant claws broke through the air and slashed down. 341. Elite iron-toothed wolf. 355. Elite iron-toothed wolf. 328. Elite iron-toothed wolf. 347. Elite iron-toothed wolf. 338. Elite iron-toothed wolf. With a miserable scream, the short-haired man's blood slot instantly emptied, and the person directly disappeared in place, while some items fell out. 15 low-ranked magic soul orbs, 1 mid-ranked magic soul orb, and a D-rank quality shoe. When an adventurer dies in the magic realm, the equipment on his body and the contents of his backpack will fall out. Zhang Ze walked over and put the stuff into his backpack. The other 4 looked at the iron-toothed wolf in horror, and one of them was even so scared that his legs went limp and he directly fell to his knees. 1 strike and you're dead. Not even the power to fight back. This is the terror of an elite boss. Not to mention them, even the S-ranked talent Lu Yueying suffered a big loss when he met the elite boss, let alone them. The trash talent adventurer Scarlet Right Hand was still calm as he shouted, "Big Ba, use your natural skill, Earth Wall, to stop the iron-toothed wolf, and the rest of you follow me with all your might to finish off this damn rabbit." The violent rabbit blocked the only exit, and without taking care of it, Scarlet Right Hand and the others wouldn't be able to escape at all. Although the man named Daba was unwilling in his heart, there was no better way at the moment, so he had no choice but to face the iron-toothed wolf with his head. Earth Wall. Big Ba unleashed his natural skill, and a wall of earth that was 10 meters high and 5 meters thick instantly stood up, isolating the iron-toothed wolf outside the wall. Scarlet's right hand cast his natural skill, Muddy Swamp, at the violent rabbit, trapping it in one go, and then led the group as they prepared to escape from the valley. But at that moment, they suddenly heard the angry roar of the iron-toothed wolf from behind them, as well as Big Ba's mournful screams. Chapter 9, Entering the Second Level. The crowd looked back in shock, only to see that the wall of earth that Big Ba had erected had been easily destroyed by the iron-toothed wolf. Big Ba was also resolved by the iron-toothed wolf with 2 claws. Big Bud's dead too. What a terrifying elite boss. Who the hell is that Rakshasa guy? Why would he summon monsters? Could be his natural skill? Several people were so inwardly panicked that they didn't notice that the violent rabbit trapped in the quagmire had suddenly disappeared. In the next moment, Violent Rabbit appeared next to one of the tall and thin men and punched him away. The tall, thin man landed right at the feet of the iron-toothed wolf, and with another scream, he was sent to the west by the iron-toothed wolf. What happened? Wasn't that rabbit trapped by me with the quagmire? Scarlet's right hand was in disbelief. Aren't you surprised? Zhang Ze slowly stepped out from behind the iron-toothed wolf and smiled. When I take back the violent rabbit, all the negative effects will disappear. The blood-colored right hand looked at Zhang Ze's smiling face, and for the first time, he felt a deep fear inside. Looking at the approaching iron-toothed wolf, the scarlet right hand was trembling. If people know that you killed us, your life will be over. Now that you've spared us, how much money do you want to talk? Zhang Ze smiled contemptuously and said, I seem to remember you saying that no one would even know about it unless I said it myself. The scarlet right hand was momentarily speechless. He had thought that Zhang Ze was a novice and easy to fool, but he did not expect to be countered by General Zhang Ze. Left and right are both dead. Fight him. The 3 of them gritted their teeth and tried to fight a trap, but they were surrounded by iron-toothed wolves and hard-armored tortoises and violent rabbits, and in a scream of misery, the 3 sinful lives came to an end. Self-inflicted sins. Zhang Ze shook his head while walking over to put the items dropped by Scarlet Right Hand and the others into his backpack. Hee, these guys really do have a lot of good stuff on them. 36 low-ranked magic soul orbs, 4 middle-ranked magic soul orbs, 3 pieces of D-ranked equipment, 1 piece of C-ranked equipment, and a prop named Berserk Charm, Berserk Charms. Quality, C. Damage, 0. Special effect, causes one target within 3 meters to fall into a berserk state for 100 seconds. Durability, 1/1. This thing is good, it might come in handy at critical moments. Zhang Ze nodded in satisfaction. On the way back, Zhang Ze once again met Wang Yang and his 2 female companions. Brother! You're alive. Great! Wang Yang excitedly thanked him repeatedly. Thank you for relieving us just now. Nowadays, there are too few people with a good heart like you, Wang. That will definitely repay you. Just say what you need me to do, and I'll do my best to get it done. If you want money, is $1 million enough? Zhang Ze waved his hand and said, It's not necessary, I just don't want to see those bad guys harming people. You guys pay attention next time. After saying that, he directly left. Wang Yang's money Zhang Ze can't take, because it's easy to reveal his identity. This world circulates electronic currency, and transfers require real names, which can be found at a glance. Zhang Ze came to the stone door on the first floor and found that there were a few people who were surrounding the iron-toothed wolf. Zhang Ze went straight through the stone door and entered the second floor. The scenery in front of him changed again, and this was actually a huge underground cave, which was dark and damp, and from time to time, he could also smell a fishy odor. There were many adventurers gathered at the altar, and some were gathering their teammates. An expert is leading the team, safe and secure. As long as the talent is B rank or above, if the talent level is not enough, handing in 10 low-ranked magic soul orbs is fine. Speed if you want to join. Seeking a group. I'm a C-rank talent, support class, add me if you need me. Zhang Ze flipped through the magic domain guide. There were 3 types of monsters on this level, namely the poison spider, the giant mosquito and the final boss, the heaven-swallowing frog. It is written that poisonous spiders are good at using poisonous thorns and will also spit out silk to form webs, so once you fall into a spider's web, you can't move for a period of time. Giant mosquitoes are even more disgusting. This thing doesn't have a high attack, but it's sneaky and sucks blood. The boss swallowing frog is oversized and thick-skinned, making it difficult to damage it with normal attacks. Its attack skill was Shock, which could put targets within a certain range into a stunned state while dealing ranged damage, making it harder to deal with. Try a poisonous spider first. Zhang Ze left the altar and searched for poisonous spiders in the maze-like underground caverns, and he soon found one. Zhang Ze summoned both the hard-armored tortoise and the violent rabbit. The iron-toothed wolf was his killer weapon and could not be exposed easily. Kill the poisonous spider. Zhang Ze gave the order, and the hard-armored turtles and violent rabbits rushed towards the poison spider at once. The poisonous spider spotted the enemy, and it immediately spat out a spider web, catching one of the violent rabbits that rushed at the front. Then its tail cocked up and a poisonous sting shot out. -25. Poisonous spiders. -20. Poison damage. -23. Poisonous spider. -19. Poison damage. The poison spider's damage wasn't high, but its poison damage was deadly, and Zhang Ze observed that it dealt 15 to 20 points of damage every second. Violent rabbits didn't have a high blood count, but in 7 or 8 seconds, a LV1 level violent rabbit hung up. However, Zhang Ze was not heartbroken. The violent rabbit was too weak, so he might as well give up his precious summoning spot to the poison spider. Moreover, poisonous spiders are also long-range attack monsters that can be used to lure monsters. Zhang Ze no longer had to wait for the slow hard-armored turtle to rush up and fight monsters. When the second violent rabbit died, the poison spider was finally besieged and died. Zhang Ze got 2 blue low-grade magic soul orbs and also summoned a poisonous spider. Poisonous spider, Rakshasa. Level 1, max 5. Experience, 1 out of 10. Blood, 300. Attack, 100 to 150. Defense, 200. Skills, none. It's worthy of being a monster of the second layer. Its attributes are outstanding compared to both the violent rabbit and the hard-armored tortoise. Zhang Ze continued to explore deeper into the cave with his summoned monster squad. His current strategy was to fight monsters on sight. It didn't matter if the violent rabbit and hard-armored turtle died, they were directly replaced with poison spiders and giant mosquitoes. If any of the violent rabbits and hard-armored turtles survived and leveled up, let it continue to occupy a summoning slot. In a nutshell, those who can do not. A giant mosquito appeared in front of them, and the crowd of summoned monsters swarmed up under Zhang Ze's command. The giant mosquito's defense was low, and its attack wasn't high, but its evasion was higher than the violent rabbits, and it could also draw blood. For hard-armored turtles, a violent rabbit and a poisonous spider surrounded the giant mosquito for a small 20-minute fight before it was destroyed. This giant mosquito's survivability is really strong. As long as the blood trough is below 50% it sucks blood. Maybe this giant mosquito can keep occupying the summoning position. Zhang Ze summoned the giant mosquito and muttered as he looked at its attributes. Giant mosquito, Rakshasa. Level 1, max 5. Experience, 1 out of 10. Blood, 350. Attack, 90 to 120. Defense, 250. Skills, none. I still have 2 free summoning spots. Fill them up, and get the summoned monsters upgraded a bit before they increase their combat power. After making up his mind, Zhang Ze continued to look for monsters to fight with his summoned monsters, and 2 hours later, his team was full. After battle attrition and augmentation, Zhang Ze's team members found changes: 3 hard-armored turtles, 1 upgraded to LV2, 1 LV2 violent rabbit, 2 poison spiders, and 3 giant mosquitoes. It's almost time to go and see what the boss of the second floor, the heaven-swallowing frog, looks like. Chapter 10, We'll take this boss. Arriving at the second-level stone door, Zhang Ze found that there were many people surrounding the place, and the crowd was noisy and seemed to be very angry. If you want to fight the boss, you have to join their team and turn in 10 magic soul orbs. Are these people crazy? The boss is public. When did it become theirs? We're holding our breath to improve ourselves in order to protect our family and defend our country against the demon cave monsters. But these guys are making a fortune from the national tragedy, it's too much. Doesn't anyone care? Where are those experts? Where are the people from the Magic Domain Authority? I've heard that this group is connected to the higher-ups of the authority, so they're turning a blind eye to their behavior. The experts go straight to the higher levels of the demon realm, how can they have the time to care about us newbies? Zhang Ze frowned and looked over from the crowd, and he saw a dozen men blocking the crowd outside, not allowing them to go over to fight the boss. A few people tried to break through, only to be attacked by these people and flee back in a sorry state. Rookies. The heaven-swallowing frog is wrapped up with us. If you want to fight, hand in the magic soul orb. A tall and thin man carrying a long knife shouted to the crowd with an arrogant face, "Don't say we're black-hearted. We also paid money to the top and contracted the boss for a year. How can we say that? We have to be allowed to return our capital." That's right. That's why you guys shouldn't think about getting any help from the authorities, no one will care. Another fat man full of horizontal meat said with a hefty smile. The man's words confirmed the previous suspicions, and everyone's faces revealed a look of anger and helplessness. Some people were unwilling in their hearts and didn't want to turn in their magic soul orbs, after all, each one was something they had risked their lives for. But if you don't pay it, you'll stop there, and you won't be able to continue to improve your strength, and you won't be able to become a powerful person in the demon realm. So weighing the situation, some of them gave in and went up to hand over their magic soul orbs and were added to the group waiting for the monster to start. The tall and thin man shouted again, "Is there anyone left? There's only one spot left, so hurry up if you want to sign up. The next wave will have to wait 24 hours later." Me. Zhang Ze squeezed out from the crowd, smiled, and shouted to the tall and thin man, "Big brother. I want to enroll. 10 magic soul orbs." The tall and thin man spread his hands at Zhang Ze. "That. I only entered the magic realm yesterday, so I don't have that many magic soul orbs in my hand, but my family is rich. Can I use gold bars instead?" Zhang Ze put on a cautious expression and asked. "Gold bars?" "Yes." The gold bar deal wouldn't reveal his identity, so the tall, thin man agreed painfully. After killing the boss and getting the Tier 3 key, "I'll have my family send you gold bars," Zhang Ze said smilingly. "Kid. Don't play tricks with us. Turn around, and if you don't see the gold bars, you won't be able to leave the demon region," the tall and thin man said coldly. Zhang Ze was added to the team, and he read that the captain's name was Money-Making Superman, and his rating was Skilled Fighter. It seems that this person's talent level is not low. Zhang Ze remembered that Lu Yueying's evaluation was Skilled Swordsman, so he thought that anyone with the skilled prefix would not be too low in strength. The tall and thin man looked at the people and said to the fat man, "Lao San, the people are all here, start the monster. Each and every one of you stay close, and when our captain fights the monsters later, you all stay honestly by the side," Lao San admonished as he walked. The crowd followed Lao San to the stone door leading to the 3rd floor, and from afar, they saw a huge red toad sitting in front of the door, with bulging eyes and a big belly. It looked fun but was actually very menacing. A man with a tiger's back was sitting on the ground with his back to the crowd, seemingly resting his eyes. Zhang Ze noticed that the man's name was none other than Money-Making Superman. Lao San walked over and respectfully said to the man, "Captain, the people are all here, we can start the monsters." Moneymaker Superman nodded and stood up without even looking at the crowd behind him, directly striding towards the heaven-swallowing frog. Moneymaker Superman has the A-rank talent skill, Flame Punch. Flame Punch, A. Grade, 1. Experience, 612/1000. Consumption, 10 points of vitality. Cooldown, 60 seconds. Effect. Multiple attacks on a target in a short period of time. Remarks. Level 1 Flame Punch, 10 attacks against a target in a short period of time. Level 2 Flame Punch, 30 attacks against a target in a short period of time. Level 3 Flame Punch, 50 attacks against a target in a short period of time. Level 4 Flame Punch, 100 attacks against a target in a short period of time. Level 5 Flame Punch, 300 attacks against a target in a short period of time. With this A-rank skill talent, Moneymaker Superman has been able to improve his strength and finally gained a proficient rating. Originally, he had planned to take the certification of a strong person in the magic domain, but because he was the one who had a criminal record, he was rejected as a result, so he gave up on himself and started going further and further down the crooked road. After fighting this one, I've killed 39 swallowing frogs. Violent Superman took a deep breath, his entire body drew his legs and rushed towards the sky-swallowing frog, sidestepping a fireball that spat at him as he rushed to the sky-swallowing frog's side, and the flame punch skill was unleashed. One fist transformed into 10 fists. Bang, bang, bang. -171. -199. -165. With a single skill move, the blood level of the heaven-swallowing frog dropped to about 1/3. As much as I don't like this guy, I have to say he's awesome. It's fortunate that we didn't go in hard just now, or else we might have been killed if we encountered such an expert. The crowd thought with palpitations as they saw the great strength of the money-making superhero. Zhang Ze kept a close eye on the blood level of the heaven-swallowing frog and had already made a calculation in his mind. Seeing that only about 10% of the heaven-swallowing frog's blood level was left, Zhang Ze struck out. Brush. An arrow hit the eye of the sky-swallowing frog. -52. Although the damage was not high, because the attack was on the vitals of the heaven-swallowing frog, the heaven-swallowing frog was instantly enraged, and all of a sudden, it focused its hatred on Zhang Ze, and turned around and jumped over. Shit. Didn't I tell you not to make a move? The oldest three immediately stormed out. He was angry not only because Zhang Ze did not follow the rules, but also because, whoever killed the boss, the reward items dropped would go to him. They naturally did not want the reward to be obtained by Zhang Ze. Moneymaker Superman also grimaced, but he didn't come after him. A rookie, how dare he rob the boss? I think he's just looking for death. No one should intervene. I want to see how he gets killed by the boss. The crowd immediately distanced themselves from Zhang Ze, and the people on Lao San's and money-making Superman's side looked gloating while the rest of them watched with cold eyes. It's too self-indulgent. A bowman who still wants to take on a boss alone is purely tired of living. This guy is dead. Greed is not enough for a snake to swallow an elephant. Is it worth it to put his life on the line to grab a boss? Even if he does get the boss squared away, does he think he'll be able to leave safely? The money-making Superman gang won't let him go. The crowd was murmuring, just waiting to see Zhang Ze's final miserable end. Zhang Ze's expression was calm as he immediately used his summoning technique, summoning all the monsters except for the iron-toothed wolf. In an instant, a group of monsters appeared behind Zhang Ze, meeting the heaven-swallowing frog head-on. What? This guy can summon monsters? Lao San's eyes widened. Money-making Superman also had a shocked look on his face. He had never seen this kind of natural skill that could actually summon monsters. The rest of them, not to mention their jaws dropped. Zhang Ze's summoned monsters had already fought with the heaven-swallowing frog. The poisonous spiders trapped the heaven-swallowing frog with their cobwebs. The hard-armored turtle was on top of the front, attacking with one punch after another, and the giant mosquitoes flew to the back to frantically suck blood, quickly beating the heaven-swallowing frog down to its last ounce of blood. Zhang Ze shot out his sword, emptying the blood slot of the heaven-swallowing frog. You've defeated the swallowing frog, Lord. With a crash, a large pile of magic soul orb props and equipment burst out, and Zhang Ze directly went over to include these in his backpack. When he turned around, the likes of money-making Superman and Lao San had surrounded him. Chapter 11. Disciplinary Inspectors. No wonder he dares to go out and rob monsters, so he really has some skill. The oldest three hemmed and hawed with a sinister smile, lighting up the hammer in his hand. Hand over everything you have on you, plus 10 pounds of gold bars, and this will be settled today. Otherwise, hey. The rest of them also slowly approached, their eyes glaring menacingly. Zhang Ze looked at the summoned beasts around him. After a battle just now, one hard-armored tortoise was killed in action, one poison spider was killed in action, and 2 giant mosquitoes were killed in action, leaving him with 2 hard-armored tortoises, 1 violent rabbit, 1 poison spider, and 1 giant mosquito. Combat attrition was almost half. Kid, is your natural skill summoning? Quite interesting. Money-making Superman spoke, but it's not much use. Even if you summoned more little monsters, they would all be nothing but dirt in front of a true expert. As he spoke, he suddenly dodged and rushed in front of a giant mosquito with a flame punch, killing that giant mosquito directly. From the side came the shouts of approval from Lao San and the others. Nice shot, boss. A bunch of little monsters, not enough for our boss to stuff his teeth. Kid, if you know what's good for you, you'd better surrender. You'll suffer for your actions. Your giant mosquito was killed by money-making Superman. A system prompt appeared in front of Zhang Ze's eyes, and he raised his eyebrows. I shouldn't have minded my own business and just killed the boss and got the key, but you guys came to die. Zhang Ze's mouth contained a cold smile. Then I will fulfill you all. Wait. Suddenly, someone rushed in front of the 2 sides, and he shouted at money-making Superman and Lao San and the others, I'm the disciplinary inspector of the Magic Domain Authority, don't mess around. The name of this person is Heaven's Net, Chuan Chuan, which is quite suitable for his identity. Zhang Ze had seen this person before in the team, not very conspicuous. I did not expect that it was actually the undercover plainclothes of the Magic Domain Authority disciplinary inspectors. Money-making Superman frowned. He knew that these people, subordinate to the top management of the authority, openly and secretly, collecting evidence, investigating and punishing the offending cadres, their positions were not big, but they had a lot of power. Lao San whispered next to him, Captain, this guy will be in trouble if he stirs up the matter of us bribing Section Chief Gao. Otherwise, don't do it or don't do it. He waved a gesture of killing his head. Heaven's Net Chuan Chuan said, I've recorded everything you just said and did, and these are all evidence. I will submit them to the leaders. I advise you to turn around and turn yourselves in to the Magic Domain Authority immediately. When he said that, Moneymaker Superman's eyes went cold. Unfortunately, you can't go back. Kill them both. To avoid any complications, Moneymaker Superman decides to kill the man. As the group of people pressed forward, Lawgiver retreated to Zhang Ze's side and said in a deep voice, Don't be afraid, I'll protect you. Zhang Ze froze for a moment. It seemed that he didn't need to make a move. Your natural skills are practical and I see great promise. I'll introduce you to my higher-ups when we get these people arrested. Phaser nodded his head at Zhang Ze, with a look of I am very optimistic about you. Kill. Lao San rushed up with 2 men, and 2 others flanked him from behind, attempting a back-and-forth attack on the phalanx. Don't underestimate me. Falconet flashed a staff and fired a cold ray at one of them. This was an A-ranked talent skill of phalanx, which could freeze the target for 30 seconds, while dealing 100-300 points of damage. Those who were hit by the ice ray were instantly turned into ice sculptures, and at the same time received 275 points of damage, almost being killed in seconds. The crowd's faces changed, and they didn't dare to continue charging. Fuck. This guy is gifted in the magic department. Lao San let out a low curse. Don't be afraid. The talent skill cooldown is 60 seconds, enough for us to finish him off. Lawgiver snorted coldly, besides magic, my kung fu isn't weak either. In the meantime, a man was subdued in a few moves, leaving the other man in a comatose state. In magic, as long as the attack on the corresponding parts, you can cause the corresponding damage, for example, attacking a vital area, like the heart, eyes, etc. Will do a lot of damage and attract a lot of hate at the same time. Attacking weak areas, such as joints, arteries, etc. can also result in a variety of states such as slowed movement and unconsciousness. The legal net has just hit the aorta of the opponent's neck, putting the opponent in a coma that lasts for up to 30 seconds. Once again putting down a man who attempted to attack him, Lawgiver clapped his hands and said smugly, I'm an outstanding graduate of the Tongchuan Martial Arts University, don't underestimate me. Although Tongchuan Wushu University is not as well known as Qingda Wushu School, it ranks in the top 10 in the country of Daxia, and is also a famous school. My companions will soon arrive, are you still not surrendering? Lagavir asked in a cold voice as he looked across the room at money-making Superman and Lao San and the others. Make us surrender? Heh heh. Dream on. Lao San grinned, suddenly casting a magic skill on the money-making superhero next to him. A yellow circle of light appeared at the feet of money-making Superman, and he gained a gain buff, magic resistance. This was Lao San's B-rank talent skill, which could make the target reduce the effect of magic by 100% for 10 seconds. Good job, Lao San. Money-making Superman rushed towards Falconer at breakneck speed, and Falconer's expression was grave as he immediately raised his staff to cast Cold Ice Ray. -141. You've been hit by a cold ray and frozen for 3 seconds. Seeing that money-making Superman was frozen, Lagavir immediately greeted Zhang Ze, run. This guy is tougher. He had just seen the money-making Superman's talent skill, which was considered to be relatively strong in the melee class of talents. The Tier 2 boss couldn't even carry money-making Superman's skill attacks, and with his current defense and blood, he would definitely be rubbed on the ground. Careless. Had I known that there were A-ranked talented adventurers within this group, I shouldn't have come alone. The Lagavir secretly regretted, but unfortunately there was no medicine for regret in this world. Zhang Ze looked around, the two of them were already surrounded by money-making Superman's henchmen, there was no way they could run out die. As soon as money-making Superman's freezing time was up, he immediately launched an attack on the Lagavir, and although the Lagavir's physical skills were very powerful, he couldn't help that the other party's natural skills were too powerful, and he was soon bloodied. As he watched, Moneymaker Superman was about to deliver the final blow to the Lagavir when suddenly a hard-armored turtle rushed up and blocked the attack with its shell. What? Moneymaker Superman was startled, and then he saw a spider web coming down over his head. Watching money-making Superman struggling non-stop in the spiderweb, Lagavir then realizes that it was Zhang Ze who saved him. Zhang Ze patted Lagavir's shoulder, leave it to me next. You want to fight him? Lagavir shook his head back and forth, no, this guy's attacks are too harsh, you're a novice, you won't be able to carry it. Although the evaluation of the legal net Chuan was beginner mage, it was already much more powerful than the average adventurer, but he could only withstand the flame punch twice at most, and Zhang Ze, a newcomer, was simply no match for him. Who said I'm going to fight him? The corner of Zhang Ze's mouth quirked slightly, it's them who are fighting him. Only to see that two huge black shadows appeared behind Zhang Ze. Chapter 12, Berserk Iron-Toothed Wolf. The elite Iron-Toothed Wolf and Sky-Swallowing Frog stood behind Zhang Ze, and the sudden appearance of the two major bosses at the same time caused the crowd to be shocked. Jesus! What's going on? How could the bosses of Tier 1 and Tier 2 be refreshed here at the same time? Is something wrong with the magic domain? You fool! It was clearly that archer who summoned it. Boy, I thought he could only summon small monsters, but I didn't realize he could even summon bosses. This is too ridiculous. What talent skill is so perverse? It can summon a boss. I think this archer's natural skill is at least A rank. Not right. It should be S rank or above. Lagavir's mouth couldn't close, and it took a long time before he could utter a sentence. Brother, your natural skill is not just practical, it's simply heaven-defying. On the opposite side of the table, money-making Superman and Lao San and the others were also in disbelief previously. Zhang Ze's use of the summoning technique to summon monsters had already surprised them, but they did not expect to be able to summon even bosses, and the faces of several people became increasingly ugly. Captain, what should we do? That kid summoned two major bosses. Lao San was fearful and looked nervously at money-making Superman. Money-making Superman's face was gloomy, saying, our matter has been recorded by that legal network, if we let them go, not only will several of us have no good fruit to eat, but we will also drag Chief Gao into the water, and we will die even more miserably at that time. There's no turning back now. no matter what, we have to finish off the two of them. Money-making Superman's eyes were fierce. Leave the two bosses to me. You guys must kill Lawgiver and Rakshasa. Definitely don't leave any evidence behind. Lao San also knew the seriousness of the matter and nodded his head through clenched teeth. I know, Captain. The legal net Chuan noted that the old three with the remaining people is once again silently surrounded them. He knew in his heart, these people are going to doggedly jump over the wall. It's not good, bro, these guys have gone crazy. Lawgiver's face was grave as he whispered to Zhang Ze. Zhang Ze had long since looked on, and at the same time, he saw that money-making Superman was approaching him step by step. Money-making Superman is very strong. The heaven-swallowing frog alone is definitely not his match. We must have the assistance of the iron-toothed wolf to make it work. Zhang Ze's mind was calculating, and he immediately returned the hard-armored turtle and other small monsters back to his side early to protect himself and the Lawgiver. At the same time, Iron-Tooth Wolf and Swallow Frog are ordered to answer Moneymaker Superman. Do it. Moneymaker Superman's body moved and violently rushed towards the opposite side of the heaven-swallowing frog and Iron-Tooth Wolf. The heaven-swallowing frog wasn't too much of a threat to money-making Superman. He had already killed dozens of them and knew the characteristics of the heaven-swallowing frog very well. He was certain that he could finish it off in 2 casts of his talent skill. As for the Iron-Tooth Wolf next to him, he didn't put it in his eyes even the elite bosses couldn't catch up to him in terms of speed, so he was confident that he could destroy all of the 2 major bosses at the same time. On the other side, Lao San led the rest of his men to launch a siege on Zhang Ze and the Lawgiver. Relying on the protection of monsters such as the hard-armored turtle and the poison spider, Zhang Ze and Fa-Net Hui Hui circled around the dozen or so people from the other side without any danger. During the battle, Zhang Ze had been keeping a close eye on the situation on the side of money-making Superman. This guy was really strong. Even when the Iron-Tooth Wolf and the Sky-Swallowing Frog combined their efforts to fight against him, they still didn't get the upper hand. As you can see from the evaluation, money-making Superman's profession is a fighter. High speed and strong burst are the characteristics of a fighter, so facing the pincer attack of Tuna Frog and Iron-Toothed Wolf, money-making Superman is still at ease. Flame Punch. With another talent skill, the heaven-swallowing frog's blood level was down to the last 20%. Zhang Ze narrowed his eyes and thought in his heart, this money-making Superman is also a thoughtful person. He knows that the heaven-swallowing frog doesn't have a high defense and needs a cooldown time to spit out fireballs, so he's focusing all of his attacks on the heaven-swallowing frog. The plan is to turn around and take care of the iron-toothed wolves after taking out the sky-swallowing frogs first. What a way to attack each and every one of them. This can't go on. Zhang Ze suddenly remembered that he still had a berserk charm in his backpack. Try it. See what works. At that moment, Zhang Ze did not hesitate to take out that berserker talisman from his own system backpack, and after thinking about it, he directly threw it onto the iron-toothed wolf. Ow! After the berserk talisman reached the iron-toothed wolf's body, it instantly turned into dots of golden light and melted into the iron-toothed wolf's body, and then, it felt as if the iron-toothed wolf's body swelled up. At the same time, an even more tyrannical and murderous aura burst out from the iron-toothed wolf's body. What's wrong? Money-making Superman was about to deal a fatal blow to the heaven-swallowing frog when he felt a powerful killing aura coming from beside him, frightening him into storming back, and looked at the berserk iron-toothed wolf in disbelief. Berserk state? How did the iron-toothed wolf suddenly enter a berserk state? Money-making Superman was surprised after seeing the iron-toothed wolf state, and he knew that after entering the berserk state, all aspects of his attributes would be drastically increased. The attack power and speed, in particular, will become very impressive. At first, when he arrived at the 5th floor, he saw the boss of the 5th floor go into a berserk state, easily exterminating a squad of 20 people altogether. That scene is still unforgettable for money-making Superman. Today is too evil. Unlucky enough to meet a disciplinarian, not to mention an adventurer who can summon a boss. And then the boss also berserked. The money-making superhero's eyes rolled back in his mind, and he was already backing away. A good man refuses to do so. Go first. Thinking of this, he turned around and ran, but he had underestimated the speed of the iron-toothed wolf in its berserk state only to see a black shadow flashing in front of him. The massive body of the iron-toothed wolf stood south in front of him. Shit. Behind Moneymaker Superman was the Tundra Frog. If he turned back to deal with the Tundra Frog, with the speed of the iron-toothed wolves, before he could finish off the Tundra Frog, the iron-toothed wolves would finish him off first from behind. He had no choice but to grit his teeth and launch a charge like an iron-toothed wolf. Brush up. Iron-toothed wolf's skill, Tear, is activated. 10 black lights formed a dense web of death. Money-making Superman was just as fast as he was, there was no way to avoid it, and he was instantly hit by the black web. Minus 211. Minus 256. Dash 223. A series of red damage values floated up from the top of Money-making Superman's head. Ah! Help! The Money-making Superman watched his blood tide instantly empty. He opened his hands helplessly, and finally, his body gradually disappeared. The captain is dead. Old 3 and the others received the system prompt, and a look of horror appeared on each of their faces. Money-making Superman was the most powerful among them. Even Money-making Superman was dead. How could they dare to continue fighting? At once, one was ready to scatter in all directions. The pressure on Zhang Ze's and Dharma Net's side was instantly lifted, and Dharma Net looked at the iron-toothed wolf after berserking, thinking with scorn, this Rakshas's natural skill is too terrifying, and such a talent must be mastered in the country's hands, or else the consequences will be hard to predict. At that moment, a noise came from outside the crowd. Loggever looked at the chat channel and smiled at Zhang Ze. My companions rushed here, and not a single one of these people escaped. They've all been captured. Chapter 13, Something's happened to my sister. Zhang Ze nodded as he walked over bar, picking up all the things that Money-making Superman had dropped. Another great haul. 2 high-level magic soul orbs, 18 mid-level magic soul orbs, and 77 low-level magic soul orbs. There are also 2 bottles of blood replenishing potions, 1 invitation and 3 pieces of equipment. Worthy of being a high-level adventurer, there are quite a lot of belongings on you. Zhang Ze smiled. Although this battle was risky, the end result was a perfect ending, and he had also harvested so many goodies. Of the 3 pieces of equipment, there was a C-rank shoulder pad, a D-rank pants and a C-rank hat. It just so happens that I lack equipment. Zhang Ze put all 3 pieces of equipment on his body, and his appearance changed slightly. What's the invitation? Zhang Ze checked that invitation. Invitation, dead zone. Quality, C. Remarks, a pass to enter the dead zone. Durability, 1/1. The Deadlands? What is that place? Zhang Ze flipped through the guide to the magic realm, which did not contain any records about the dead realm. Throwing the invitation into his backpack, Zhang Ze absorbed all the high-level magic soul orbs in his backpack. He has +1 strength and +2 speed in his attribute values. Brother Rakshasa, your performance just now was excellent. Are you interested in joining our Magic Domain Bureau and serving our country? Loggever walked forward and extended his hand to Zhang Ze. Zhang Ze shook his hand, but shook his head and said, I'm sorry, I don't have any plans in this regard at the moment. So, Lawn Mower nodded thoughtfully and said, that's good, people have their own aspirations, I'm not forced, you write down my communicator number, if you figure it out you can come and find me. As Zhang Ze took down the number, Dharmanet added, Brother Rakshasa, I'll say one more thing, no matter how powerful you become in the future, I hope you remember that you have the blood of Dasha flowing in your body, and don't do anything to apologize to the country and the nation. I know. Zhang Ze nodded solemnly. Although he had traveled across, he had long been integrated into the Dasha, he would never rightly not betray his motherland and people. Passing through the stone door, Zhang Ze entered the 3rd floor. The entire 3rd level is a dense tropical rainforest, and the temperature has become warm and humid, with dense foliage covering the sky, and the sunlight leaving spots of light on the ground through the gaps in the branches and leaves. The number of people on the altar on this level was going to be a bit less than the first 2 levels, and the higher up the demonic realm, the smaller the number of adventurers because of their lack of strength. Many people were unable to defeat the boss guarding the door, and naturally, they could not get the key to enter the next level. Moreover, the higher the level, the more powerful the demon realm monsters were as well, increasing the danger exponentially. Without sufficiently strong strength, it was naturally better not to take risks. After all, you only live once. Isn't it good to be alive? The magic guide states that the monsters on level 3 are no longer beasts and insects, but humanoids, kobolds, sword and shield goblins, stone-throwing goblins, and the boss, Goblin King. After looking at the time, it was almost close to 12 midnight again. Zhang Ze felt a bit tired, so he went offline to rest. Adventurers with a low physique attribute stay in the magic realm for a short time, and as the physique attribute increases, the longer they stay. It was said that high-level adventurers could stay in the magic realm for more than a month. Zhang Ze appeared in the living room of his house, and he suddenly realized that his sister hadn't even returned yet. It's so late, why isn't this girl back yet? Zhang Ze frowned. Zhang Feng's character, although independent, never spent the night outside, so the situation today was rather strange. Zhang Ze picked up his cell phone and tried to call his sister Zhang Feng, only to find that there were a dozen missed calls on it. The phone number, which Zhang Ze recognizes, belongs to Zhang Feng's best friend, Lu Panpan. Lu Panpan and Zhang Feng is the same classmate. The family is average, the two often go out together to work and play. Did something happen to my sister? Zhang Ze's heart sank, and he immediately called the phone over, and when the phone was connected, Lu Panpan's anxious voice came over. Hello. Why are you answering the phone? Quickly come to the singing and dancing hall of the Yunding Club. Something's happened to Zhang Feng. Before Zhang Ze could ask more questions, Lu Panpan's side hung up the phone. Zhang Ze immediately put on his clothes and rushed out of the house, calling a cab to come straight to the Yunding Clubhouse. Yunding Club, one of the most luxurious nightclubs in Tianfeng City, where the rich and powerful would go to have fun once midnight came. Here, a throw of money is nothing more than a common operation, and when you meet a big, bold boss, you'll even come to a full house for free. What's a sister doing here? A part-time job? Sitting in the cab, Zhang Ze thought to himself, could it be that, when my sister said earlier that she had found a way to make money, she was working here? Silly girl. This isn't even a place for us commoners. Zhang Ze shook his head. There was no denying that Zhang Feng was a good-looking girl, and was said to be the recognized school flower of their school. A girl as pretty as her coming to a place like this is bound to get into trouble. No matter who it is, if they dare to harm my sister, I will never forgive them lightly. Zhang Ze clenched his fists. Finally arrived at the Yunding Club, Zhang Ze's breath rushed into the dance hall. Far from a group of people surrounded together, he immediately squeezed in, found his sister Zhang Feng is standing in the middle of the face of fear, opposite a leather sofa, sitting on a big belly middle-aged man and a leisurely smoking yellow-haired youth on both sides of the sofa. There stood 2 tall, black-clad bodyguards, and from the aura emanating from them, Zhang Ze knew that these 2 were practicing soldiers. Don't give a damn about your face. I told you to have a drink with Mr. Chen. Why so much bullshit? Well, there's $10,000 in this card. Hurry up and come over for a drink. The middle-aged man threw a silver consumer card at Zhang Feng's feet and said with a look of disdain, come here to work and still pretend to be innocent? How fucking ridiculous. Lu Panpan on the side walked up and said with a smile, this honored guest, my friend really doesn't know how to drink, otherwise let me do it. You? The middle-aged man rolled his eyes, are you as good-looking as her? Our Qin Shao has his eye on this girl, we must have her come to accompany us today. But, Lu Panpan had a hard look on her face. Just then, Zhang Ze came up with great strides, took his sister's hand and turned around. Ah, brother. Zhang Feng's fear dissipated when he saw that it was Zhang Ze. Zhang Ze's action took the crowd by surprise, and the middle-aged man suddenly stood up and shouted, who the hell are you? Let go of the man. A black-clothed bodyguard stopped in front of Zhang Ze, who stopped in his tracks and said in a cold voice, "I'm her brother, I'm taking her home." "Brother?" The middle-aged man froze, then grunted and laughed. "I don't care what kind of person you are to her. Today, you must keep my honored guest company, or else, none of you siblings will be able to leave here." The yellow-haired youth named Chen Feng was still sitting on the sofa, watching the scene in front of him as if he was watching a farce, with a condescending smile on his face. He was a student of the No. 1 high school in Jiangbei City, and the only genius who had awakened an S-rank natural skill in the past 10 years in Jiangbei City. That middle-aged man was Wu Tianqing, the chairman of the Tianqing Group, and in order to draw Chen Feng in, he had specially invited him to come here to play at the Yunding Club. Just happened to bump into Zhang Feng delivering drinks over. Her pretty look made Chen Feng couldn't help but look at her a few more times, and Wu Tianqing, who was observant of the situation, immediately stopped Zhang Feng and forced her to accompany Chen Feng for a drink. Zhang Feng does not know how to drink, and does not want to accompany people to drink, so he politely refused, making Wu Tianqing lose face, so he was furious in public. As for Chen Feng, he had not spoken since the beginning. For him, these people in front of him were clowns, and he had never put anyone who was not as strong as him in his eyes. Chapter 14, Li Zihao and Wu Tianqing. "Your guest?" Zhang Ze swept a glance at Chen Feng and said in a cold voice, "I don't care what kind of distinguished guest you are. Whoever dares to touch a hair on my sister's head today, I'll break his legs." Wu Tianqing immediately exploded. He is also one of the most important figures in Jiangbei. No one has ever dared to talk to him like this, and immediately stormed out, "Little brat. Dare to talk to me like this? You also don't ask around. What kind of character am I, Wu Tianqing, in Jiangbei?" Some of the onlookers heard Wu Tianqing's name and sucked in a breath of cold air in their hearts. It's actually Wu Tianqing, the chairman of Tianqing Group. How did he come to our Tianfeng city? Boy, things have gotten big this time. I've heard that Wu Tianqing is very powerful in Jiangbei, and has befriended many powerful people from the Devil Realm. Back when he first started his business, there was a mob boss who looked for trouble with him, and died in his bed the next day. I've heard about this too. Wu Tianqing has connections in both the black and white. No one dares to offend him. I think this brother and sister are finished today. Wu Tianqing pointed his finger at Zhang Ze's nose and said with a cocky face, "Today, I don't want to upset my honored guest because of a fart. Hurry up and pick up the spending card on the ground and get lost. Don't worry, I'll send someone to send your sister back to you tomorrow." Some people around us whispered to each other, "Brother, don't hold out, quickly take the money and go, you can't handle this today." Yes, let your sister stay with them for the night, and all of you, brother and sister, will be safe, otherwise, I think you'll have a bad night. Zhang Ze looked at the silver consumer card on the ground and bent down to pick it up. "That's right." A contemptuous smile appeared on Wu Tianqing's face. He had seen a lot of youngsters like Zhang Ze, hardened on the surface, but in fact strong on the outside. They would wimp out after a little scare. "Humph, a consumption card, and you want to buy my sister?" Zhang Ze gently exerted his force, and the metallic consumer card suddenly twisted and deformed. Zhang Ze raised his hand and the metal card flew through the air towards Wu Tianqing. Ugh! Wu Tianqing was so scared that he hurriedly covered his face, waiting for a while, but realizing that nothing had hit him, he opened his eyes and found Chen Feng standing beside him, catching the metal card that Zhang Ze had thrown at him with one hand. Zhang Ze's eyes narrowed. Although he had not used his full strength just now, his speed was also extremely fast, making it difficult for ordinary people to react. And yet, this Chen Feng took it lightly, so it seemed to be no ordinary person. Shit! Break this kid's legs for me. Wu Tianqing became infuriated and kicked over the wine table in front of the sofa. The 4 black bodyguards accompanying him rushed towards Zhang Ze in unison, and the onlookers, seeing that the matter had become a big deal, all avoided in fear, lest they would be affected. Just then, someone outside the crowd suddenly shouted, "What's going on here? Stop it all!" The crowd moved aside and a tall, gorgeous woman in a black cheongsam walked in, and beside her was a man in a suit in his early to mid-50s. Lu Panpan saw the gorgeous woman and shouted offhandedly, "Sister Jiang." Sister Jiang nodded to Lu Panpan and walked over to Wu Tianqing and smiled. "If it isn't Boss Wu, what has made you so angry? Tell me about it." Wu Tianqing raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "The little sister in your store doesn't know the rules. Letting her accompany my guest to drink a glass of wine, and she's actually unwilling to do so. Not only that, she even called her brother to back her up. It's that kid who just now went so far as to smash something on my face, almost disfiguring me. Damn it, when have I, Wu Tianqing, ever suffered such a loss?" Sister Jiang frowned. She knew that this Wu Tianqing was not to be messed with, but when she turned around and saw Zhang Feng's pitiful appearance, she felt that she couldn't bear to push this little girl into the fire pit. What happened? At this time, the 50-year-old man who had been standing next to him came forward. "So it's Boss Wu, remember me? Mountain River Group's Li Zihao." "You are Li Zihao?" Wu Tianqing froze for a moment, then he remembered that the Cloud Ding Club was Li Zihao's property, and it was no surprise that Li Zihao appeared here to say that there are some grudges between Li Zihao and Wu Tianqing. Back then, Li Zihao want to get a foothold in Jiangbei, spend a huge amount of money to buy a piece of land, want to build a large entertainment club. As a result, Wu Tianqing interfered, making Li Zihao's plan go down the drain, and more than $1 billion went down the drain. From then on, Li Zihao had a bond with Wu Tianqing. Seeing Wu Tianqing actually come to his entertainment club to play today, Li Zihao was also surprised. After all, Wu Tianqing also has his own entertainment industry over in Jiangbei, and it's not like there are no venues of this class like the Yending Club, so why did he suddenly run to Tianfeng City? Also, what was the origin of that yellow-haired kid sitting next to him? Listening to Wu Tianqing, it seemed like he was his honored guest. "So it's Boss Li, it's been a long time. I remember 3 years ago on the interview program of Jiangbei TV station, you said with great bravado that you were going to invest in the construction of a large-scale entertainment facility. How come you were nowhere to be found afterwards?" With a sneer on his face, Wu Tianqing said with a smile, "So it's a tail between his legs, rolling back home in ashes, ah." Ha ha ha. Hearing Wu Tianqing's mocking words, Li Zihao's face became even more gloomy, but after all, he was a person who had seen the world, and suppressed his anger in the bottom of his heart, and said without moving, "Let's not talk about the past, but rather, why does Boss Wu have the leisure to come to our Tianfeng City to play? Could it be that your Jiangbei City doesn't have a decent entertainment club?" Wu Tianqing shrugged his shoulders and said, "That's not true, but because I'm going to invest and do business in your Tianfeng City, I naturally need to familiarize myself more with the environment here." "What?" Li Zihao was shocked in his heart. Wu Tianqing was strong, he was slightly inferior to him. If Wu Tianqing really ran to Tianfeng City to do business, with the kind of underhanded tricks he was accustomed to, Li Zihao might not really be his match. Deception is too much. Actually trying to seize my territory. Li Zihao's heart finally sank. This Tianfeng City was his base, it was here that he started his business, his connections and contacts were all here. How could he tolerate someone else spreading their wildness here? How can we allow others to sleep soundly on the side of the couch? Li Zihao said in a cold voice, "Boss Wu, I don't oppose you investing and doing business in Tianfeng City, but you can't bully the people of Tianfeng City. Today, I hope you can sell me face. Don't bother with this brother and sister, they are already very poor." When Zhang Ze heard Li Zihao's words, he squinted at him. These days, people with money, power and love were rare. Zhang Ze did not feel that this Li Zihao was genuinely trying to help their siblings. There must be some reason for it. He guessed correctly that Li Zihao actually didn't care about the deaths of Zhang Ze's siblings. Today, if the other party was not Wu Tianqing but some other powerful person, Li Zihao would definitely not have asked. But because Wu Tianqing and he is a rival relationship, Li Zihao took advantage of the issue to make use of Zhang Ze's siblings to make an article, playing the sympathy card, stirring up the surrounding Tianfeng City residents' sense of justice, the same enemy against Wu Tianqing. Whether it can succeed or not is not to be mentioned, at least it can first destroy Wu Tianqing's image in the minds of the people of Tianfeng City. Chapter 15, Retired Magic Realm Powerhouse. As expected, the crowd of onlookers were agitated by Li Zihao's words, and they denounced Wu Tianqing. What's so great about a big shot from Jianbei? What gives you the right to come to our Tianfeng city to make a fool of yourself? Boss Li is right. We welcome you to invest. Go back if you dare to bully, we don't welcome you. It's a power struggle. I don't believe there is no law in this world. Don't be afraid of that little sister. The law will punish them. Wu Tianqing saw the surrounding crowd with angry faces. He immediately frowned. He didn't expect this Li Zihao to be quite prestigious in the area. He didn't care about those things, though. Humph. A bunch of fools. Wu Tianqing laughed coldly. You ordinary people, you just cower inside the safe zone and muddle through. In fact, each and every one of you is stupid as hell. Wu Tianqing's words immediately caused an uproar, but he heard Wu Tianqing continue to say loudly, you guys can live peacefully now, all thanks to people like me. If it wasn't for me investing in business and earning money before subsidizing the country to cultivate demon realm powerhouses to defend against those constantly invading demon cave monsters, would you all be able to live until today? To tell you guys the truth. In the future, only the truly strong deserve to enjoy life, and ordinary people like you are thankful to be alive. Although Wu Tianqing's words were hateful, many people understood in their hearts that what he said was the truth. Right now, the world is trying to fight off the invasion of the monster cave every year. Tens of thousands of humans were slaughtered after the demon cave monsters overran the city. And the situation was getting worse, as the frequency and number of magic cave monsters were appearing was increasing. 20 years ago, when the Devil's Cave had just appeared, only 1 or 2 monsters appeared a year. With the passage of time, there were now hundreds of monsters rushing out from the Devil's Cave in a month, and these monsters were getting stronger and stronger, and there was no shortage of level 5 monsters among them. Therefore, many countries are tired of coping with the situation, and there are even some small countries that, in order to allow their race to continue, give up their land and nationality and take the initiative to merge into the larger countries. Now, there are only a dozen or so relatively large countries left in the world, and Daxia is one of them, but the situation is not optimistic, as half of the country has already fallen, and the rest is also in danger. Therefore, in this situation, the importance of the strongest person in the demon realm was self-evident. Within the Great Xia, all resources were prioritized to supply the strongest people of the demon domain, as only they could protect the family and defend the country. And the ordinary people had gradually been reduced to the lowest level. Their only role was to give birth to more children for the country, ensuring that more powerful people of the magic realm could be born from these newborns. Even in extreme cases, the country would rather abandon its pawns and keep only the strongest of the demon realm. Yes, as Wu Tianqing said, ordinary people should really be thankful to be alive. How can you? You say that? Li Zihao's face changed, although this was an indisputable fact, but no one would bring it to the surface. He did not expect Wu Tianqing to actually say it in public. Wu Tianqing sneered and said, what can't be said? A lot of things have to be publicized sooner or later, and what I've said are already considered the best words to hear. Today, I must take away this pair of siblings. No one can stop me. Wu Tianqing once again ordered his men to grab the Zhang Ze siblings. Li Zihao gritted his teeth and suddenly blocked in front of Zhang Ze's siblings, knocking down those bodyguards in 3 punches and 2 kicks. This scene immediately made the people around them eat another shock. Li Zihao's stance just now was completely unlike a person in his 50s, and was even more agile than some young people. More importantly, the ones he had just knocked down were professional bodyguards, and the other side were all practiced. Several bodyguards covered their injuries and retreated to Wu Tianqing's side, and Wu Tianqing's face sank as he said in a cold voice, Li Zihao. You're clearly going against me today, aren't you? For the sake of 2 ordinary people, is it worth it? Li Zihao said with a cold snort, I'll also tell you that I'm going to protect these 2 people today. Oh, I forgot to tell you, 20 years ago I had already passed the certification of a demon realm powerhouse, becoming a first-order demon realm powerhouse, and joined the military department to fight in foreign battles later on. I retired from the military because of an injury, and that's when I entered the business world to fight. So, if you want to move against me, I advise you to weigh yourself. Hearing this, Wu Tianqing's face suddenly changed. He had never thought that Li Zihao was actually still a first-ranked demon realm powerhouse, although Li Zihao was getting older and usually didn't have more energy and time to fight monsters in the demon realm, but his kung fu was still there, and that was definitely not something that a few ordinary bodyguards could deal with. Damn it. This is not Jiangbei, otherwise I could have called at least 2 first-order demon realm powerhouses with one phone call. Wu Tianqing gritted his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. He was just an ordinary person, he couldn't even beat his bodyguard, let alone deal with Li Zihao. Wu Tianqing, Tianfeng City is not a place for you to spread your wildness. I advise you to take that brat and get the hell back to your Jiangbei city. Don't force me to make a move to kick you guys out, it won't be pretty when the time comes. Li Zihao clenched his fists and threatened in a cold voice. Zhang Ze had been observing from the side. Li Zihao was old and strong, his movements were swift and powerful. He guessed that Li Zihao had to throw a punch of at least 700 pounds. I added 1 point to my strength, and now it's 12 points of strength. I wonder if I can reach 700 pounds. Zhang Ze thought in his heart. However, although Li Zihao's power isn't small, he's still old after all, and has slowed down a bit in terms of speed. Even I can see the trajectory of his punches clearly. In fact, it wasn't Li Zihao's speed that had decreased, but rather, Zhang Ze's speed had now increased by a large margin. He had previously absorbed 2 high-level magic soul orbs, his speed had increased by 2 points, and his reflexes and attack speed were already far beyond normal, even close to the level of a first-order magic domain powerhouse. But Zhang Ze himself didn't know that, so he assumed that it was because Li Zihao had declined in all aspects of his physical fitness after becoming older. Li Zihao, don't be too arrogant. When I get my footing in Tianfeng City, I'll let you roll over and get out. Wu Tianqing shouted. Li Zihao narrowed his eyes. He knew that Wu Tianqing was a man of his word, and Wu Tianqing also had the strength. Originally, I didn't want to kill. But if I don't get rid of Wu Tianqing, it will become a big problem in the future. Li Zihao was also a ruthless person, realizing that Wu Tianhao was a time bomb for him, his heart moved to kill. Suddenly, Chen Feng, who had been spectating without saying anything, came forward. He patted Wu Tianqing's shoulder, then stepped forward and said to Li Zihao with a smirk, Li Zihao, I just heard you say that you want me to get the hell out of here and go back to Jiangbei, didn't you? Li Zihao raised his eyebrows. He saw that Chen Feng was only 16 or 17 years old. He didn't take this yellow-haired brat in his eyes at all, and said disdainfully, Kid, when adults are doing things, kids should get less involved, get out of the way. Chapter 16. I hope you'll surprise me. Chen Feng shrugged his shoulders and said with a smile, Sorry uncle, I just passed my 18th birthday today, I'm already an adult. As soon as the words fell, Chen Feng suddenly threw a punch at Li Zihao. This unsuspected punch froze everyone, including Li Zihao. Kid! You dare to fight me? Li Zihao's voice sank. He also met him with a punch. He was very confident in his strength, even if he was now 55 years old and had not trained for a long period of time. His physical condition was not as good as it used to be. He felt that he wouldn't have any problems dealing with a 17 or 18-year-old brat. With a bang, the fists of the two collided in the air. Li Zihao stomped back 2 steps, while Chen Feng stood firmly in place. It's clear who is stronger and who is weaker. Wu Tianben was worried that Chen Feng, a school student, was not a match for Li Zihao, a retired demon realm powerhouse, but he did not expect Chen Feng to give him a surprise. Ha ha ha. Young Chen deserves to be the only S-class talented powerhouse we've had in Jiangbei for 10 years. Wu Tianqing laughed out loud and turned his head as he spoke condescendingly to Li Zihao. Li Zihao, even if you're a demon realm powerhouse, that's all old news. Now it's the world of these young people. Your old bones better hurry up and roll back home to retire. Ha 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 ha. Li Zihao wanted to say something, but as soon as he opened his mouth, a fishy sweet liquid welled up in his throat. he knew that the punch he had just thrown against Li Feng had caused him to suffer from internal injuries, so he immediately pushed down this mouthful of blood and did not dare to speak again. I didn't expect that this yellow-haired kid actually possesses an S-rank talent. Just now, when I sparred with him, I felt that the power was at least 800 to 900 pounds. Li Zihao was secretly shocked. The standard for a first-ranked Demon Realm powerhouse is at least 1,000 pounds in one punch. Could it be that this kid is already close to being a first-ranked Demon Realm powerhouse? Chen Feng lit up a cigarette, still looking relaxed and at ease, and said with a humming smile, I thought the Demon Realm powerhouses would be so powerful, but it's nothing more than that. After saying that, he said to Wu Tianqing next to him, Boss Wu, that Li Zihao doesn't dare to go against you anymore. You can do whatever you want. With me here, I'll see who dares to stop you. When he said this, Chen Feng's eyes drifted to Zhang Ze's side seemingly unintentionally, and Zhang Ze clearly felt that Chen Feng's eyes carried a strong hint of warning. Understood, young Chen. Wu Tianqing rubbed his hands together. He felt that bringing Chen Feng to Tianfeng City today was really a wise decision. The battle just now extinguished Li Zihao's prestige, and in the future, his own work in Tianfeng City would be much smoother. Pull that girl over to me. Wu Tianqing pointed at Zhang Feng, and several of his black-clad bodyguards instantly came over to this side. Sister Jiang supported Li Zihao and asked with a terrified face, Brother Hua, what should we do? Li Zihao's face was as pale as paper. He waved his hand powerlessly. That kid is too powerful. I'm not an opponent. This matter is out of our hands. When Lu Pan, who was standing by the side, heard this, her heart sank. Even Li Zihao couldn't save Zhang Feng. What should we do? As Zhang Ze pulled his sister behind him, one of the bodyguards screamed, Get out of the way. With that, he tried to push Zhang Ze away with his hand, but he didn't want him to push it away. Zhang Ze's feet flickered, like a loach under the siege of the three bodyguards. He swept past the three of them, and by the time the crowd reacted, he had already rejoined his sister's side and the three bodyguards all collapsed on the ground, their eyes rolled white and their mouths foamed. This is... Wu Tianqing's eyes widened at once. He didn't even see how Zhang Ze struck. He just swayed around his three bodyguards, and these three fell to the ground. What kind of kung fu was this? Not only Wu Tianqing, not many within the onlookers at the scene were able to see Zhang Ze's movements, because his movements were too fast. Li Zihao's eyes lit up as he said joyfully, little brother, how many points is your agility attribute now? The speed is surprisingly so fast. As a magic domain powerhouse, his own agility attribute was not low, so he could see that Zhang Ze had just thrown a punch at the stomachs of those bodyguards. Zhang Ze just smiled and didn't say anything. You kid is also a Demon Realm adventurer? Wu Tianqing's face changed. Although the magic realm was open to all humans of the right age, not everyone could hang out in the magic realm. It not only depended on the level of talent, but also on the individual's interests. Wu Tian Achievement didn't like to go to the magic domain to fight monsters. Instead of risking his life in the magic domain, he preferred to do business to make money. Anyone who fiddles with their fists is a mangina, and the upper limit is just a small head of the military department. Only smart people can ascend to the highest position. Do not know, those high-powered politicians, how many are from the magic domain to fight monsters to develop? Therefore, Wu Tianqing had hardly ever been to the demon region. But that didn't stop him from becoming a big shot on one side. With money and power, he could still make those strong people of the devil realm work for him. Oh? Kind of interesting. Chen Feng's eyes narrowed slightly. He barely caught Zhang Ze's movements just now, knowing that his agility attribute was as high as 11 points, which had long surpassed the average person, so he thought to himself that apart from true Demon Realm powerhouses, there was no one better than him. Unexpectedly, he actually met Zhang Ze in Tianfeng City today, which immediately provoked his good strong heart to formally introduce myself. My name is Chen Feng, a senior at Longhu High School in Jiangbei City. What's your name? Hearing Chen Feng's question, Zhang Ze naturally wouldn't be such a wimp that he wouldn't even dare to say his name. Tianfeng City, 5th Senior High School, Zhang Ze. The corner of Chen Feng's mouth curled up as he said, I didn't realize that you and I are still in the same class. How lucky, how about a sparring session? Not interested. Zhang Ze pulled his sister and turned around. Now, no one here could stop him. Phew. There was a strong wind behind his ears. Zhang Ze immediately turned his head and flew up, shattering the beer bottle that had struck Zhang Feng's head. Oops, you caught me. Chen Feng grunted and laughed. Without my permission, you and your sister can't leave today. Zhang Ze frowned. He didn't want to cause trouble, but he wasn't afraid of it. Since the other party had found his head, he decided to respond to the battle. Li Zihao lifted a strong breath and reminded Zhang Ze, little brother, this Chen Feng is very powerful, at least 800 pounds. You must be careful. Zhang Ze nodded and handed his sister over to Lu Panpan. Brother. Be careful. Zhang Feng was filled with apprehension. She already knew from the conversations and expressions of the people around her that Chen Feng was not easy to deal with. Zhang Ze gave his sister a reassuring look before walking slowly forward. At this point, the people around them had already made a space large enough for them to cast. Chen Feng twisted his neck, and a clicking sound came from it. When I was in Jiangbei, I picked almost every school in Jiangbei, and no one could beat me. He hemmed and hawed, I hope you'll surprise me. Chapter 17. Maybe we'll be alumni. Li Zihao and Chen Feng were injured from sparring. I'm afraid I can't carry it either, I can't fight him hard. Zhang Ze secretly calculated in his heart, my advantage is in speed, use speed to control power. Chen Feng raised his clenched fist and slammed it into Zhang Ze. A punch that opens up a mountain. Li Zihao's pupils suddenly shrunk, and a look of shock and horror appeared on his face. This Chen Feng actually hit his strength just now. This punch is at least 1,000 pounds. Not good. If Zhang Ze receives this punch hard, I'm afraid he'll break his bones. Of course, Zhang Ze would not take Chen Feng's punch hard, his body dodged away like a willow in the wind. Look at the punch. While dodging, Zhang Ze blasted a punch at Chen Feng from the side. The light in Chen Feng's eyes flashed, and he immediately closed his fist to return to defense, and with a bang, he was knocked back half a step by Zhang Ze's punch. The fist power is about 700 pounds. It's about the same as Li Zihao. This guy really has something. Chen Feng hemmed and hawed, unfortunately, it's still too weak compared to me. But the next moment, his smile froze on his face. Just now, he had already distanced himself from Zhang Ze, but he did not expect Zhang Ze to come to him all of a sudden. This speed is amazing. How can this guy be so fast? Chen Feng's face suddenly changed as he hurriedly defended. The rest of them were also surprised. Li Zihao's eyes flashed with a hint of joy. Hee, this little brother actually hit a hand as well. Not bad, Zhang Ze had not unleashed all of his speed before. Just like Chen Feng, he also hit his strength, so, at the critical moment, his speed exploded. Hoo. Zhang Ze's fist transformed into a patchwork of fist shadows, completely enveloping Chen Feng. Chen Feng had absolutely no power to counterattack and could only tire himself out in defense. Indeed, Zhang Ze's punching power wasn't as great as Chen Feng's, but 3 punches and 5 punches stacked on top of each other could kill a person. Chen Feng could only feel that both of his arms had been beaten senseless. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. The speed of the punch was so terrifying that he couldn't even see the movements of Zhang Ze's punches. Damn it, how many points has this guy added to his agility value? Why is it so fast? Wu Tianqing's face turned ugly as he watched Chen Feng only being able to passively defend himself with no way to counterattack. I didn't expect that there are actually crouching tigers and hidden dragons in a small place like Tianfeng City. Careless. Zhang Feng and Lu Panpan revealed joyful colors when they saw Zhang Ze's unparalleled bravery. Lu Panpan's eyes flashed with a strange light as she asked Zhang Feng in a low voice, "Your brother used to be civilized, I didn't expect him to be so powerful." Hee, my brother is deep in hiding. Zhang Feng had pride on his face. That, Feng, does your brother have a girlfriend? Lu Panpan suddenly asked, her face burning a little. Zhang Feng casually said, there should be no right, did not hear my brother said. Alas, you ask this why? Lu Panpan smiled and said, "It's fine." Boo. Zhang Ze finished his last punch and quickly backed away, not giving Chen Feng a chance to counterattack. However, Chen Feng was now incapable of counterattacking even if he wanted to. His two arms had taken hundreds of punches from Zhang Ze in a row, and had long been red and swollen, not to mention throwing punches. It was a struggle to lift them up. Damn it! Chen Feng roared furiously. He had never been in such a sorry state before. Being beaten without the ability to fight back. Zhang Ze stood a few meters away and smiled faintly. "Chen Feng, you can't lift your arm anymore. Are you still fighting?" Although Chen Feng was exasperated, he also knew that he had no chance of winning today. "How can you fight if you can't lift your hands?" Wu Tianqing's eyes turned, immediately came next to Chen Feng and whispered, "Chen Xiao, a good man will not be forced to do so. Let's come back another day." This was Li Zihao's field after all, and with the emergence of a strong Zhang Ze, coupled with Chen Feng's inability to fight, the situation was unfavorable for them. If Li Zihao was so ruthless that he must make a move to kill Wu Tianqing and Chen Feng here, I'm afraid that it would become a headless case afterward. After all, in this world, money talks. Although Chen Feng was arrogant, the situation was still clearly distinguishable, and he nodded his head at that moment. "Zhang Ze. I'll remember you." Chen Feng looked at Zhang Ze coldly. 3 months is the National Martial Arts examination. I'm going to take the Qing University Martial Arts School. When it's over and I'm golden, I'll come to find you in person. Zhang Ze raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Coincidentally, I'm also going to be admitted to the Qing University Martial Arts School, so maybe we'll become alumni." "Just you?" "Hee hee." With a sneer, Chen Feng shook his head. "Your speed is indeed very fast, but it's useless to rely on speed alone. The admission requirements of the Qing University Martial Arts School are very high, second only to the assessment standards of a first-order demon realm powerhouse. In addition to speed, there are requirements related to strength, physique and spirit, and you can't pass if you don't meet any of them. It's hard for an ordinary person to be all things to all people, unless there is a strong backing behind him that provides him with more than enough resources. I think you're just an ordinary person, otherwise your sister wouldn't have come to work in a place like this, so you'd better stop dreaming." Chen Feng had a proud face. He was originally from a famous family. Most of the elders in his family were magic domain powerhouses. The most powerful third uncle was now a senior advisor of the Magic Domain Bureau, a third-order magic domain powerhouse. Backed by such a strong family, Chen Feng's growth could be described as smooth. Coupled with the fact that he had also awakened his S-class talent, he instantly became a pivotal figure in the entire family, gathering thousands of favorites. If it wasn't for the fear that Chen Feng's spiritual power wasn't enough and that forcibly absorbing too many high-level demon soul orbs would cause problems, the family hated to let Chen Feng take the demon soul orbs as a meal. Zhang Ze certainly knew what Chen Feng said, but he wasn't worried. "I don't need you to worry about my matters. I will definitely be admitted to the Qing University Martial Arts School." Zhang Ze was full of confidence. His SSS grade talent gave him wings. "Hee hee, I don't know where you get your confidence." Chen Feng snorted, and then, he and Wu Tianqing left the clubhouse under the angry stares of the crowd. "Little brother." Li Zihao came down to Zhang Ze in front of Sister Zhang's support and said, "You've given our Tianfeng city a breath of fresh air." The people around us also praised it. "Yeah, look how arrogant that fat guy named Wu is. It's great to have a few bucks. And that yellow-haired brat named Chen Feng, trying to bully us into having no one in Tianfeng city? Getting slapped in the face. It's a pain in the ass to see them dust themselves off." Zhang Ze just smiled lightly and said, "It's nothing, I just want to protect my sister." After saying that, he was about to leave with Zhang Feng. "Little brother, please stay, I have something I want to talk to you about. I hope little brother won't refuse." Li Zihao made a wink at Sister Jiang, who instantly understood, and busily said, "The Rose Hall is now empty, let's go there to talk." Zhang Ze frowned. He wanted to refuse, but he heard Li Zihao added, "I have also prepared $500,000 for little brother, although it's not much, consider it as a little bit of my heart." $500,000? That'll cover the rent for my sister's artificial kidney. Zhang Ze nodded, then lead the way ahead. Chapter 18, It's definitely not him. Rose Hall. A few people were seated, and Sister Jiang personally brewed a pot of top-grade dragon well and served Li Zihao and Zhang Ze tea at the side. Little brother, you've won honor for our Tianfeng city and earned face for me, Li, I'm very grateful to you. As he spoke, Li Zihao pushed a $500,000 spending card in front of Zhang Ze. In Daxia, everything is transacted with electronic money, but there are times when it is not convenient to disclose information such as one's account name, and so on, so one uses this kind of bearer consumption card. Zhang Ze was not polite and directly put away the spending card. He was now very short of money. Seeing that Zhang Ze accepted the money, Li Zihao's face smiled even more as he said, Little brother, do you know the grudge between me and Wu Tiancheng? It's nothing more than that in the business world. Zhang Ze had been a man for 2 lifetimes, so where did he not know? Good, then I'll get right to the point. I'd like to invite little brother to join my mountain river group. Li Zihao had an eager face and said, Wu Tiancheng pulling Tianfeng together is nothing more than finding an expert to back up his Tianqing group. You must know that doing business is not enough just to rely on your brains. If you don't have an expert to protect you, being exploited by the black and white layer by layer, the bones are all there for you to swallow. Although I'm a retired Demon Realm powerhouse, I can at least protect the Mountain River group, but Wu Tiancheng is coming on strong this time, and I'm afraid that I'm no match for him, so I hope that little brother will join me and protect the Mountain River group together. Although it is my personal property, it is also the largest business group in Tianfeng City. Once it is knocked down by an outside force, our Tianfeng City will be passive. If little brother is willing to join, I promise to provide a generous reward. Li Zihao said with conviction, what Wu Tiancheng gave to Tianfeng, I, Li Zihao, am just as capable of giving it to you. Zhang Ze pondered for a moment and said, Boss Li, I understand your good intentions, but I'm still a student now and don't want to join any organization. In the future when I'm successful in my studies, I might consider it. Li Zihao's conditions were indeed and attractive, but Zhang Ze was not willing to be cost by others. As for resources, Zhang Ze could completely rely on himself to obtain them, there was no need to beg. Li Zihao's face showed disappointment, but after thinking about it, he retreated and said, I won't force myself in that case. I just hope that when someone bullies Mountain River Group in the future, little brother will step in to help. This is naturally no problem. Zhang Ze nodded his head in agreement. After all, he had taken a sum of money from others, so he could appropriately contribute. The two of them chatted a few more times, and by talking to Li Zihao, Zhang Ze gained more understanding of this world. Leaving the Yunding clubhouse, Zhang Ze and Zhang Feng returned home. Brother. I was wrong. Zhang Feng stood timidly in front of Zhang Ze, drooping his little head, saying, I shouldn't have gone to work in a place like that with Pan Pan, but the wages given there are really high. You can't go even if the pay is good. Luckily I was in time this time, or else the consequences would have been unimaginable. Zhang Ze boarded up his face. In this world, only the two of them, brother and sister, depend on each other. Zhang Ze regarded Zhang Feng as his life, and refused to let her suffer half a bit of wrongdoing. Therefore, when he saw his sister's tears with circles in her eyes, Zhang Ze had to swallow back the rest of those reproachful words and shook his head. Don't go back next time. I've already earned a lot of money, and will soon earn enough to cover the entire rent. You go to school well and don't go out to work anymore. Got it, brother. Zhang Feng nodded her head obediently, then she spread a smile and said cheekily, Brother, you were so handsome when you fought at the clubhouse today. What fight? That's called sparring. Zhang Ze blankly glanced at him without any good humor. On the second day, Zhang Ze traveled to the school and met Wang Yang at the gate. Zhang Ze. Good brother, almost you won't be able to see me today. Wang Yang pounced up and hugged Zhang Ze with an expression of having survived a robbery. Bawling his eyes out, Zhang Ze pushed him away and said expressionlessly, What's wrong? I was almost kidnapped yesterday. Wang Yang recalled, his heart palpitating, and said, If it wasn't for a hero who saved me, I damn sure would have been torn apart. It's just a pity that that hero does good deeds without leaving his name, otherwise I would have worked for him as a cow and horse to repay him for saving my life. Zhang Ze laughed in his heart, but he didn't move on his face, and said, "You're lucky then." He patted Wang Yang's shoulder and said, "Let's go, class is about to start." "Wait, I remember." Wang Yang's eyes suddenly lit up and he shouted excitedly, "That hero's name in the demon realm is Rakshasa. I remember, he was also in the last Lu Yuing thing." Zhang Ze. This dead fat guy's memory is really good. Zhang Ze, if you meet the Rakshasa big brother next time, make sure to notify me first, I want to worship him as my master. Wang Yang was all excited, "Let's talk about it when we meet." Zhang Ze shook his head and walked into the school building with Wang Yang. At the end of the day's lessons, Zhang Ze rushed to work at the school martial arts center. Tomorrow was the weekend and he planned to go out and see if he could make more money. Just as he walked into the school martial arts hall, Zhang Ze saw Jing Hao and a few people questioning the students who were practicing in the hall. "Hello student, did you see anyone using the dynamometer yesterday afternoon after school?" "I didn't see it, isn't there surveillance here?" "You can check it." "Ugh. Don't mention it, the martial arts center has aging equipment, and the camera directly in front of the force measuring machine has been broken for quite some time." "That won't help you." After asking around, Jing Hao didn't get an answer, when he saw that Zhang Ze was changing into his work clothes and cleaning the floor. "Ask him." Jing Hao walked over to greet him, "Hello classmate, my name is Jing Hao. I would like to ask, when you were cleaning up after school yesterday, did you see anyone using a force measuring machine?" Zhang Ze froze for a moment. He had heard of Jing Hao's name, he was ranked number 1 in the next class, and it was said that he had also awakened a grade A talent, and many people said that he would definitely be able to get into the Qing University Martial Arts School. "Didn't see it?" Zhang Ze shook his head. If it was known that he used the dynamometer during working hours, the school leaders might disqualify him from his job. That would be strange. Jing Hao cupped his chin and suddenly asked, "I remember when I left at that time, you were the only one left in the martial arts hall, how could you not know?" Zhang Ze still shook his head, "Sorry, I really don't know, please don't get in the way of my work, thank you." After saying that, he bypassed Jing Hao and continued cleaning. A boy next to Jing Hao advised, "Forget it, maybe there's something wrong with the machine and there's no such person." "Yeah, we've asked all over and we haven't found anything, so maybe there really isn't this guy," another one of the girls said. Jing Hao stared intently at Zhang Ze's back and shook his head, "No, I seem to have found this person." The rest of them were stunned, and following Jing Hao's gaze they saw Zhang Ze. "No, you mean the janitor?" "I know him, he's from class 8, I think his name is Zhang Ze, but I think you've got it wrong, Jing Hao. This person definitely can't hit that high of a score. He didn't even make it into the top 100 in the whole school during the mapping test last month, it's definitely not him." Chapter 19, The Difficult Goblin. "No, I trust my intuition," Jing Hao's tone was certain, "when it's time for the National Martial Arts examination, the truth will surface." As he watched Jing Hao and his group leave the martial arts center, Zhang Ze secretly thought to himself, "Why does this person called Jing Hao want to find himself? Could it be that the data I left behind from punching on the force measuring machine that day was seen by him?" With this thought, Zhang Ze instantly realized that this Jing Hao should be treating him as a competitor. After all, there were only 2 acceptance slots for Qingdao Martial Arts School in their school, and it was only natural for Jing Hao to worry about someone threatening him. "It seems like I still need to be more careful and low-key before I can do so. In case I expose my strength and attract the attention of some people, I'm afraid I'll be in deep trouble." After making up his mind, Zhang Ze decided that he would not show any more strength until the martial arts exam. After cleaning up the sanitation of the martial arts center, Zhang Ze left the martial arts center, and just as he walked to the door of the school building, he saw the class teacher, Lu Wei, talking with 2 men in uniform. Lu Wei's face was grave, not knowing exactly what had happened. Zhang Ze silently walked past them, only to hear one of the men say to Lu Wei, "This person is extremely dangerous. Your school must remind the students to pay attention to safety." Zhang Ze was curious in his heart, but he knew that the homeroom teacher would soon release the relevant news in the group. Sure enough, about 10 minutes later, Zhang Ze was on the subway when he saw Lu Wei Group sending a message in the group recently: a dangerous and wanted criminal roamed to our city of Tianfeng. The city council reminds the general public to pay attention to safety. Students do not have anything to do at night, try not to go out. If you meet a suspicious person, you should call the police in a timely manner. Behind it was an entry about the wanted man's photo and other details, and Zhang Ze noticed that the wanted man was missing his right pinky. Because the monster of the magic cave had been ravaging the country for years, the countries had sent almost all of their manpower to the front lines to fend off the invasion of the monsters, so the police force in the country was relatively weak, leading to rampant crime. Things like these wanted criminals roaming around happen 3 or 4 times a year, but they were usually false alarms, so many people didn't take it to heart, including Zhang Ze himself. After returning home, his sister Zhang Feng had already made the meal, and after having dinner just before 8 o'clock, Zhang Ze directly entered the magic domain. After the last battle, although Zhang Ze had harvested the big boss, the heaven-swallowing frog, the other small monsters had suffered heavy casualties, and there were 6 gaps in his summoned monster team, so Zhang Ze planned to fill these 6 gaps first today. The monsters in this level of the magic realm are mainly goblins, which are further divided into 2 types, melee and long range. Fight one to try it out before deciding which type of goblin to add to one's party. After Zhang Ze made up his mind, he walked out of the altar and headed deeper into the jungle. On the way, Zhang Ze saw a 3-man squad fighting against 2 kobolds, one of which was holding a sword and shield and charging ferociously. Another kobold stood on the periphery and threw a fist-sized rock, hard, at the adventurer. Although the 3 adventurers had the advantage in terms of numbers, they were still a lot worse compared to these 2 kobolds. The sword and shield kobold attacks are strong, dealing over 100 points of damage to the adventurer each time the sword slashes down. And when the adventurer counterattacks, the kobold's shield can effectively block the attack, saving him from damage. The remote kobold stones were thrown quickly and accurately, and Zhang Ze saw that kobold, with his own eyes, throw 30 to 40 stones in just over 10 seconds. These rocks can also do 100 plus to 200 plus points of damage when they hit an adventurer. The 3 adventurers were being beaten by the 2 kobolds and screamed in agony. All 3 of them were melee professions, but as a result, they couldn't even beat a sword and shield kobold, and there were also stone-throwing kobolds in the distance striking at them remotely, causing them to be in a state of confusion. Damn kobolds. Every time I attack, it gets blocked by his shield. Ouch. I got hit by a rock again. That stone-throwing kobold is so annoying. Guys, I'm running out of blood. What to do? In the end, the 3 adventurers fled back to the altar in a sorry state. If they continued to fight, I'm afraid that all 3 of them would have to account for their little lives. It seems that both types of goblins are strong. Zhang Ze clenched his chin and thought in his mind, then there's no need to dwell on it, so just summon whichever type you catch. Thinking of this, Zhang Ze summoned all of his monsters, even including the heaven-swallowing frog and iron-tooth wolf. The main reason why they were all out was because Zhang Ze felt that the small monsters he had now, such as the hard-armored turtle, were no match for the goblins. So to be on the safe side, Zhang Ze directly used the boss to help him fight the monsters. The goblins here often came in pairs, with the sword and shield goblins and the stone-throwing goblins working in tandem with each other, and Zhang Ze did not find any of the goblins that had fallen alone, so he had to launch an attack on both of them at the same time. The sword and shield kobold, who had spotted the enemy, first put up his shield, as he realized that the enemy on the other side outnumbered them, so the first thing he did was to adopt a defensive stance. The stone-throwing goblins in the back had already begun to continuously throw stones over, smashing them piece by piece onto Zhang Ze's summoned monsters. -147. -166. -180. Shit. That stone-throwing kobold threw some serious rocks. Zhang Ze's heart ached when he saw the hard-armored turtle's blood level plummet, but at the same time, he also recognized that this stone-throwing goblin's combat power was indeed very formidable, and even the hard-armored turtle's defenses couldn't be territorial. So it was very worthy of his possession. Sword and shield kobolds in front of them taking on the attacks of monsters such as hard-armored turtles and protecting the stone-throwing kobolds behind them seemed to be their tactic, and it seemed to be practical. By the time the sword and shield kobolds were halfway through their blood count, the stone-throwing kobolds had already killed a hard-armored turtle and a poison spider. Swallowing frog. Turn your target around and attack that stone-throwing kobold. Seeing that the situation was not good, Zhang Ze immediately adjusted his tactics and had the only long-range attack monster in his team, the heaven-swallowing frog, attack the stone-throwing goblins. The fire bomb of the heaven-swallowing frog. The attack was far enough and the damage was high enough. A big fireball flew over and hit the stone-throwing goblin with a thud, knocking him off his feet while a damage value rose up from the top of his head. -310. This one gives it away. Zhang Ze drew his bow and arrow to shoot while giving his heaven-swallowing frog a nod. One more shot. With a boom, another fireball smashed onto the body of the stone-throwing goblin, and the stone-throwing goblin's blood level was suddenly left at only about 10%, and just when Zhang Ze thought that they would be able to kill the stone-throwing goblin very soon, a scene that took him by surprise happened, only to see that stone-throwing kobold turn in place, scuttle on his feet, and quickly flee deeper into the jungle. Nima. How come you have to run even if you can't beat them? Zhang Ze was speechless for a while, but this situation was normal. After all, the monsters in the magic realm were not the data inside the video game, they had their own intelligence, so isn't it a normal phenomenon to run away if you can't beat them? Chapter 20, Where are you going to run? The stone-throwing goblin escaped, so naturally, Zhang Ze could not just watch the duck in his mouth fly away. So, he immediately ordered Violent Rabbit, the fastest of the summoned monsters, to go after the kobolds. This Violent Rabbit was the first Violent Rabbit summoned by Zhang Ze. It had been upgraded to LV3, and its attack power had been increased by more than 3 times compared to the original, and when it usually fought monsters, it had a high damage value and fast speed, making it one of Zhang Ze's favorite summoned monsters. The Violent Rabbit received Zhang Ze's order and hopped off to chase the stone-throwing goblins in the jungle, while Zhang Ze continued to deal with the sword and shield goblins with his remaining minions. It had to be said that this sword and shield goblin was really tough in melee combat. Under the siege of a bunch of monsters, it actually lasted for 10 minutes before being knocked down. After that, Zhang Ze immediately summoned this sword and shield goblin before checking its attributes. Sword and shield kobolds, Rakshasa. Level 1, max 5. Experience 1 out of 10. Blood 450. Attack 240 to 290. Defense 300. Skills none. The attack and defense are outstanding, worthy of being a monster from the 3rd layer of the demon domain. Zhang Ze was in awe after reading the attributes of the sword and shield goblin. In comparison, the Violent Rabbit, which had already risen 3 levels, was barely on par with this sword and shield goblin's attributes. However, the summoned monsters could only rise up to level 5 at most, which meant that the ceiling of the Violent Rabbit was too low, equivalent to the floor of the high-level Demon Realm monsters, so in the later stages, the role of low-level Demon Realm monsters like the Violent Rabbit became smaller and smaller. Zhang Ze predicted that even if the Violent Rabbit rose to full level, it would at most be equivalent to the monsters in the 5th level of the magic domain, and if it went to a higher level, it would basically be cannon fodder. Speaking of Violent Rabbits, how come they haven't returned after going for so long? Zhang Ze looked into the depths of the jungle with some suspicion, and a trace of bad premonition arose in his heart. Suddenly, a system prompt appeared within Zhang Ze's field of vision. Your Violent Rabbit is dead. Zhang Ze was startled. What happened? How did my rabbit die? While he was in a state of disbelief, he heard a dense sound of footsteps coming from the jungle on the opposite side. Then, a large group of kobolds was seen rushing out from the jungle. Aggressively, they killed Zhang Ze. Nima. That stone-throwing kobold has recruited all his buddies. Zhang Ze's heart sank. He had never thought that these kobolds had such high IQs that apart from escaping, they would also call out to their friends and ask for support. Seeing dozens of goblins rushing over in front of him, Zhang Ze knew that he wouldn't be able to withstand them with his current strength, so he immediately turned around and ran away, while at the same time putting back all of his summoned monsters. If we leave them all out there, I'm afraid we'll lose them all. These were all of Zhang Ze's old money, so he couldn't afford to lose it all. Especially the two big bosses, Zhang Ze couldn't just give them up. Running furiously all the way, Zhang Ze finally ran to the altar, and the kobolds behind him saw Zhang Ze escaping back to the altar. They all stopped and demonstrated, like Zhang Ze screaming nonsensically. These guys. To actually know that they can't go near the altar, how clever. Zhang Ze gritted his teeth. He had planned to take out a few goblins with the help of the magic tower next to the altar, but his calculations fell through. The surrounding players were also startled by the scene that had just happened. No one had ever seen so many kobolds chasing an adventurer at the same time. Crap! What the hell did this dude do? How did he attract so many kobolds? Did he abduct some kobold's wife? Is that why he's being hunted? I'll go. The flavor can't be that heavy, can it? Zhang Ze automatically blocked out the cynicism and malicious speculations of the people around him as he sat on the altar, resting to regain blood while thinking about what to do next. These kobolds are too cunning. They will flee as soon as they see that the situation is not good, and they will also attract a large number of reinforcements. The safest way is to not give them the chance to escape. Zhang Ze pinched his chin and fell into deep thought. How can we keep them from escaping? There's a way. Zhang Ze's eyes lit up as he thought of a very good idea, so he immediately stood up, turned around and rushed into the stone door. May I ask which level of the demon realm you are traveling to? First level. Second level. Third level. Zhang Ze immediately chose to go to the second level, the damp cave. The scenery around him shifted, and Zhang Ze realized that he had arrived at the altar of the second level of the demon domain, and he immediately rushed out, looking around for monsters. There. Zhang Ze saw two poisonous spiders lying in a corner, and he immediately summoned all his remaining summoned monsters and charged towards the two poisonous spiders. After a fight, Zhang Ze resolved the two poisonous spiders, and he immediately summoned them into his team. One hard-armored turtle, one sword and shield goblin, two poison spiders, and two bosses. There are still 4 gaps in the team. Zhang Ze did some math. 2 poison spiders should be enough. Afterward, Zhang Ze immediately returned to the third level of the demon domain. Humph. Let's see how you can still escape this time. Zhang Ze was full of confidence as he once again led the team out. Soon he found a pair of kobolds in the dense forest, still a combination of sword and shield kobolds and stone-throwing kobolds. Hard-armored turtle, sword and shield goblin and iron-tooth wolf move up to melee attack, poison spider and sky-swallowing frog attack remotely. Zhang Ze gave the order to attack, and the summoned monsters gave a strange cry and rushed to the opposite side, fighting with the 2 goblins. After the previous battles, Zhang Ze had already accumulated some experience, so he was more comfortable in commanding the battle. The hard-armored turtle and the sword and shield goblins worked together to deal with the enemy sword and shield goblins, while the iron-toothed wolf launched an attack on the stone-throwing goblins. With the poison spider and sky-swallowing frog in the back assisting remotely, the battle quickly tilted, with Zhang Ze's side steadily gaining the upper hand. In no time, the sword and shield goblin was the first to hang up, and the stone-throwing goblin had only 1/10 of its blood left. Woohoo! The stone-throwing kobold saw the situation and turned to flee. Zhang Ze sneered, "Just waiting for you. Poison spider, trap him with a spider web." This was the countermeasure that Zhang Ze came up with. Since kobolds loved to escape, Zhang Ze summoned 2 poisonous spiders specifically to prevent them from escaping. When the poisonous spider heard Zhang Ze's order, it immediately cocked its tail and threw out a huge spider web, which instantly caught the kobold in it, and no matter how much he struggled, he could not escape. All monsters focus on exterminating this stone-throwing kobold. With a wave of Zhang Ze's hand, the monsters swarmed up and attacked in a group, finishing off the stone-throwing goblins in no time. Phew! Finally wiped them all out. Zhang Ze let out a long sigh of relief before summoning the dead stone-throwing goblins to his team, stone-throwing kobolds, Rakshasa. Level 1, Max 5. Experience, 1 out of 10. Blood, 300. Attack, 290 to 330. Defense, 280. Skills, none. This guy does so much long-range damage. Zhang Ze smacked his lips when he looked at the attributes of the stone-throwing goblin, almost as high as the damage value of the iron-toothed wolf. No wonder a hit hurts so much.